I'm not, overly religious. I know I don't tend to actually talk about the Bible book too much. That doesn't sound accurate, Hector. I don't talk about the Bible book much. But moderates tend to actually be the reason why we can't actually progress. The point that I'm trying to make is, if you're someone who is so worried about towing the company line, someone that's so worried about not doing too much, then you're the problem. If you're someone that's sitting there saying, well, I just want us not to be in a fascist state. That's all I want. But we can't forget about the MAGA cult. If you're someone that supports Donald Trump and you don't believe that you're in a cult, first of all, you're delusional. And the one thing that I say all the time, like, the worst thing that you could possibly do is lie to yourself. And Trump supporters often lie to themselves. They think for some reason they're not in a cult. We know this. We absolutely know this. It's proven. If you are someone that's unwilling to actually criticize your politician, or better yet, if you're someone that's unwilling to actually accept any type of pushback when it comes to possibly a politician doing something wrong, you're in a cult. Simple. But again, when I say I have smoke for everyone, I absolutely mean it. And we can't forget about the quote unquote far left. Those people on the left, that are on the left that only vote when things benefit them. Those people that don't show up every year to vote. It's those people that believe that voting is a 4-year thing. I have a problem with those people that believe voting is a 4-year thing. It's not. It's not. And last but not least, non-voters. They're
60
wonderful.
some years old, have voted forever and ever. Sometimes every year, sometimes every 2 years, depends on how often it occurs.
Okay. So question for you, Blue. Did you vote left? Did you vote right? Did you vote third party? Where are you voting?
I have actually, over the multitude of years, voted both sides.
Okay. What about last year, or in the 2024 election?
I hate Donald Trump so much. I hope very evil things happen to him.
I hear you.
But I want to tell you, I lived through the Reagan years. I was going to college when Reagan was president. He reduced taxes on the rich down to 1%. And he took away college funding. My tuition went from $250 every semester to $1,250 every semester.
Yeah.
And he took away funding to mental institutions. He did all of this shit. He raised taxes on the middle.
Right. Wait, so give me a second, Blue, because I'm a little bit confused. So I hear you talking about Reagan. I get it. And also, like, I hear that you said that you hate Donald Trump, and I get that as well. But who did you actually vote for?
I voted for, I voted blue. I'm a blue Chi-Chi. But the point.
So you voted for Kamala Harris?
I did. 100.
Okay, perfect. And also, just to verify, Blue, who I'm sorry. What point do you disagree with on the background? Do you disagree with the fact that moderates moderates are mediocre? Because I mean, kind of flipping back and forth, that's a thing. Or do you disagree with the left is lazy?
So a little both. I do think the left is lazy, and that goes back to the Reagan era, because all of this time we've had Clinton, we've had Obama, we've had Biden, and none of them have reversed those tax cuts for the wealthy and the tax rises for the middle class and the poor. They have done some positive things, admittedly, but I still see those tax cuts for the wealthy. So there's still this ambivalence toward what Reagan did. And that's the reason I brought him up, is because he's still like, oh my God, Reagan, oh my God, Reagan. The Reagan years were
Okay. Hold on, Blue Chichi, because I legitimately I'm trying to listen to understand where you're coming from. So let's level set for a second here. So just to make sure you know, I'm looking for people that disagree with points on the background, right? And I agree with what you're saying, right? But I need to fully understand where you're coming from. So
well, the left
specifically
is lazy.
with the points on the background, with if you voted for Kamala Harris, are you saying that you disagree that moderates are mediocre?
Yes.
Or are you saying that you disagree that the left is lazy?
The mediocre moderates, Murkowski has been a fence rider for years. You never know whether she's going to vote. It depends on who pressures her the most. Left is definitely lazy, and it goes back to they've never done anything to correct all of the other problems. They just ride the wave of everything else.
So
yeah,
it sounds like you agree with the points on the background.
I do 100%.
Okay. I appreciate you. I'm gonna go ahead and drop you down again. I am only looking for people that disagree with the points on the background. I am not looking for anyone to come up and actually say, yep, I agree. This is not what this is about. This is not late nights. This is sparring. And I know it looks a little bit different and it feels a little bit different. And damn it, it is different. But I promise you, I only want people that are disagreeing with the background. Only people that are disagreeing with the background. Queen, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. Queen, did you vote left, right, third party, or not vote at all?
I didn't vote at all because I'm not allowed to vote.
Okay, that's a little bit different than choosing not to vote. Why are you not allowed to vote?
Because I'm a felon.
Okay, but I'm assuming that you would have voted if you had the option.
I would have voted for Harris.
Okay, all right. What state do you live in?
Oklahoma.
Have you tried to get your rights back?
I can't get my rights back until after I get done paying all my fines. And in Oklahoma, they charge you per day. So, and I was in for 5 years.
Ooh, okay. All right. Well, listen, I think you are the exception to the rule in this case, right? I mean, there's a difference between being a non-voter because you can't vote and then being a non-voter because you choose not to vote. So I'm not going to hold that one against you. So I'm going to go ahead and drop you down. I appreciate you coming up, Queen.
I just wanted to say one thing.
Sure.
I wanted to say thank you. Thank you for being on here and educating. Thank you for being on here and taking your time, because you could be doing anything else, but you chose to educate us. Yeah. Thank you for your facts. Thank you for everything, because you were able to give me the facts that I needed to help my mom to vote.
That's
because
awesome.
My mom was on the fence.
That's awesome.
And listening to you every day, I was able to help my mom to vote the right way.
That's awesome. Listen, thank you for that. I really appreciate you. I think it's important for people to actually not only challenge themselves as far as their way of thinking, but also to challenge others in their way of thinking. And that's one of the reasons why I've made a decision that I'm no longer just going after MAGA. I'm going after those other people that need to challenge the way that they think, because I think that as a whole, we're all missing the point. And I think that there's more that needs to be done across the board instead of just specifically. So I really appreciate you saying that, and even more so saying that you shared anything with your mother. So that's absolutely amazing. But Queen, thank you so much for coming up. I appreciate you.
How do I sub? Because I
You know
was
what? I got to
subbed-
set up subscriptions on this account. I have not done this on this account.
because I was subbed to your other account.
Yeah.
And
Just an
I need
FYI
to
for
sub
anyone
in
that's
this one.
watching right now. So this is the alternate account. Anyone that's
this one.
watching right now. So this is the alternate account. Patrick, how are you, friend?
I'm all right, man.
Wonderful, wonderful. Patrick, did you vote left, right, or non-voter?
I voted for Trump.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Patrick, which point do you disagree with? Do you disagree that MAGA's a cult, or do you disagree that MAGA puts their feelings over facts?
I actually disagree with mediocre moderates.
And
I feel like I can articulate that.
you know what? I'll allow it. We will actually get into that.
Okay.
But
So
give me one second. Give me
Yeah,
one
yeah.
second before we do. So I have to do this intro, right? I have to have people understand that this is different, right? I know the background looks different, but I need Patrick. Would you mind if I just share something with not only you and everyone, just so they know where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh,
yeah.
shit. Music changed. I'm scared.
You're much more of a Thanos.
You could not live with your own failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me. The hardest choices require the strongest wills. This day extracts a heavy toll.
Guys, just so you understand, I am not the good guy here. I'm not. I am not. I am calling every single person out. I am calling out mediocre moderates. I am calling out MAGA. I am calling out unreasonable people on the left. I'm calling out non-voters and third-party voters, which you are still a non-voter. If you disagree with any of the points in the background, get in the box. Get in the box. Guys, keep tapping the screen, share the live. Let's go ahead and run the likes up to 50,000 likes now. Patrick, you are a Trump voter, but you disagree with the fact that moderates are mediocre.
Correct.
Tell me why.
So I think it can be largely represented in a situation that happened quite recently. And so what I mean by that is I'm going to pose it to you within the framework of a question to kind of like put it all into perspective.
Sure.
So what did Z say that was so uniquely irredeemable that she had to be publicly ostracized in front of thousands of people?
Sure. So Z was someone that not only displayed microaggressions, right? But Z is someone that made the decision to not only acknowledge the faults of the things that she was saying, but actually leaned into those things, right? So understanding that it's not about Z, right? Let's be honest. Individually, it's not about Z. But I think as a person, if you are unwilling to actually admit that you did or said something wrong and willing to actually take accountability for said things and try to be better, then that's the problem, right? And more so when it comes to those type of moderates, they're missing the entire point, right? The main reason that Kamala Harris actually lost a majority of those voters that voted for Donald Trump, it's because she went away from who she was prior to becoming VP Harris. And she didn't lean into those actual things. So again, if you want to call names specifically, sure, you can call Z's name, but it's not about what she did was horrible, but everyone can make mistakes, but it's about what you do after you make those mistakes that really count.
Just to clarify, Your issue isn't necessarily the fact that she had a microaggression, but more so that she wasn't able to take accountability for said microaggression.
It's twofolds. It's twofolds, right? I
All right,
mean,
so let me try and engage with both of them then. So,
sure.
what was the microaggression specifically that you thought she had to apologize for?
Yeah, the
not
underlining
apologizing for?
microaggression specifically was the fact that she was questioning Black women's intelligence and also questioning Black women by saying that they aren't someone that actually knows how to organize or plan, while not knowing any of those women, and then also speaking to those women and speaking to them as if they were attacking her while they were actually seeking understanding. So
Okay,
those
so to be
things
perfectly
were the
clear,
microaggressions.
I don't like interrupting, so correct me if I do too much. But
No, you're good. Go ahead.
to assume that 6 people on a TikTok live have no electoral organizing, I don't think that that's a unrealistic perspective to have. Electoral organizing is a very niche job description.
Sure.
And I don't think you can find many people who regularly engage in that to where they could take personal offense and attach their racial identity to that conversation.
Well, so take a whole step back, because it wasn't about a electoral organization. She never said specifically, you guys have never did electoral organization. She said you've never done any type of organizing, right? And you can talk about organization on multiple levels, different levels, right? I've been organizing all my life, in a sense that in college, I was my fraternity chapter's president, and I not only organized multiple events, but I also had to manage different people in different aspects, and this was in college. And then moving
that's a
into
personal anecdote, bro.
No,
Because
I'm
these are 6 people on a TikTok live.
right,
These
but
aren't
what I'm
people who
saying is you
necessarily
wouldn't
have the
know
same
that thing
experience
about
as
me,
her,
right?
but
When
again,
you
she was
came
the
up here,
lead
Patrick, did
organizer
you
of
know
that
any
pack.
of that about me?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. It was an individual going onto a panel making an assumption about someone, and that's the only point that I'm trying to make. Yes,
So if
it's
I were to
very
come on here
anecdotal,
and
but I'm
assume that
trying
you
to
didn't
actually
have
set the
experience in
table for
electoral
you.
organizing, would I be racist for that?
Say it again.
If I were to come on here and assume that you didn't have any experience in organizing, would I be racist for that?
No,
Or would
no,
it just,
and
okay,
again,
so if you can give
that's
me
not
that
what
shared
happened,
ability, why
Patrick.
can't you give that to Z?
Patrick, that's not what happened. Again, it was the fact that she over and over questioned Black women's intelligence and the ability to actually comprehend, understand, and actually organize, because she deemed them to be lesser in her eyes.
Okay,
Those
but
were
you're
her actual
deflecting, bro,
words.
because
But
again, your
Patrick, so
justification for what you
let's
just
do
said.
this, Patrick, because again, it seems like, one, you're coming here to actually white knight for Z. I don't know why, but cool.
Okay, defending a
But
woman
two,
online doesn't make me a white knight. That's
yeah,
kind of
again,
reductive.
cool. Two, I'm trying to understand how this connects with the mediocre moderate point. So help me, go ahead and make that connection for me, Patrick.
Yeah, so I guess I should preface by saying I actually didn't vote for Trump. I'm a liberal, and so when I saw this
Okay.
situation, I would consider
Why
myself a
lie
moderate.
though?
Because I think that this behavior keeps people away from the perspective that me and you both share, because they see it as an impossible litmus test to pass. And so by framing myself as a conservative, I think it put my argument into a perspective where you can realize that
It doesn't, but because like, so this is the thing, Patrick, and this is me just being genuine, right? I literally have said over and over and over, anyone can come up, right? I don't care if you are someone that voted on the left, voted on the right, you know, or didn't vote or whatever. Like, anyone can come up, and for you to come up, and I mean, I'll accept your stance and your point of view for like whatever, we can talk about it, but for you to come up and then come up under a false pretense, I mean, you've already set the stage with dishonesty. So why should I actually like believe anything that you're saying after that point?
Dishonestly doesn't affect my argument at all. So
Right, but I'm saying why should I give any validity to your argument if you're leading off with lies?
Well, that's a really convenient cop out, but again,
I'm not copping out. I'm just and again, I'm
bro.
So Patrick, just so just to make sure you understand, I'm not ending the conversation. I'm not saying that I'm not going to actually continue to engage with you. I'm just like, I'm being really honest with you right now. There was no point of you actually doing that. I was still going to accept your argument regardless, but like, you didn't have to do that. That was my point.
Well, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the reason why I did it was because I think it better reinforces my argument.
It didn't, but
a lot of
I hear you.
There are a lot of conservatives that would look at that situation and it would set them back like 40 years in terms of joining our perspective. Because again, these litmus tests, which are impossible to
that's
pass,
the problem that I have,
keep people
Patrick.
away from our perspective.
That's the problem that I have, Patrick. I'm sorry, I genuinely don't give a damn about the conservatives. right? And that's the problem that I have with the mediocre moderates, right? You hit it right on the head. So there are more voters that aren't voting than those mediocre moderates are targeting those, you know, conservatives that may switch their mind. Because let's be clear, and I don't, Patrick, and just, you know, keep it funky with me. Are you someone that actually has vote? Or no, I'm sorry, was that you that said you voted for people on the left and the right before?
No, I've only ever voted for Democrats.
Okay, but did you say that at the beginning, or am I confusing you with someone else?
I think you're confusing me with someone else.
Okay, I apologize.
Good,
but
man.
like there are certain people that, you know, will ride the fence, right? That will vote left or right or whatever, and they're kind of there because they're what I like to call a Joe Biden Democrat, right? And so those people try to.
Joe Biden was the most progressive president we've ever had.
That's not true.
It is. It absolutely is true.
That's not true. He passed
infrastructure
some.
bill
Yes,
is
he
one of the most
definitely
progressive
passed.
pieces of legislation.
He
in
did.
American
He did.
history.
You're absolutely right. Joe Biden passed some of the most monumental pieces of legislation, but he was not a progressive president. He was someone that actually played party lines, and even more so. And again, I give him credit for this. I give him credit for this. He actually made sure to reach out to the right to get things done, right? But the problem that, again, I have with all of that is if we keep straddling the fence and staying so close and deciding that we need to actually, quote unquote, reach across the aisle, then we're never going to actually progress as a country. Patrick, we should have universal health care. Why are we one of the most developed nations in the country? I'm sorry, yeah, in the world, and we don't have universal health care? That doesn't make sense.
So I can agree with you that universal health care is a pretty like universally accepted form of social safety nets that's actually really beneficial for the populace. And I do think that America has some issues regarding that. However, I feel like we're obfuscating from the point, and I kind of want to get back on topic.
Sure, let's go ahead and get back to the point.
So your issue with Z and what she said was that she assumed that there were 6 people on a panel who had no experience in organizing. And so again, organizing is a very niche job description. I guarantee you, if you were to pick 6 people off the street, they probably, in most instances, like 99 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, they wouldn't have electoral, or not even electoral, but just organizing experience in general. And so to attach their racial identity to that issue, it feels performative, it feels counterproductive, and it feels like a audience captured perspective where there's a lot of people who hold this incredibly left-leaning position, and there are people like Dean and Parker, right, for instance, who have to kowtow to their interests and their political perspective to maintain cohesiveness within their community.
Yeah, I hear you. So let me do this, Patrick, because you know what, I'm gonna like be genuine with you, right? Something that you didn't start off doing with me, but I'm gonna do this with you, right? I'm not gonna say specifics, right? Because for me, talking specifically about the tour and what did or didn't happen and blah blah blah, like I'm past all that, right? But the one thing that I will tell you, and Patrick, were you involved in the tour at all?
Fuck no.
Okay, cool. So Patrick, the one thing that I will tell you, as far
Neither
as
were the people on that panel, by the way.
I'm sorry?
Neither were the people on that panel, by the way.
Okay. That doesn't have anything to do with what I'm about to say.
Okay.
So for the people that were involved with those tour, not just the 35 creators, right? But the 50 some odd people complete, right? Because there were people that were staff, there were camera people, there were all kind of people, right? And people were involved and had access to signal chats, had access to people individually, all this other stuff. So the point that I'm trying to make, and this is the problem with people who are making any assumptions about the quote unquote tour, what did or didn't happen, what Z did or didn't do, what anyone did or didn't say, right? There are so many people with so many different stories, so many different point of views, so many angles, right? So even myself, I try to preference things and speak from the position of the things that I do know and the things that I can verify. But I'm limited in the things that I do know and the things that I can verify. So I can't speak to other things that came out later that I didn't know or I can't speak to someone's position that of things that happened when I wasn't around, or blah, 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 right? With all that being said, without giving specifics, conversations, and for me to actually say what I'm saying about Z, it's based off of not only what you saw on that actual panel, but private conversations and other information that happened before, during, and after,
But
even
again, you
more
can't provide
after, to
any
actually
evidence for what you're
confirm
saying
what
right
I'm
now,
saying.
correct? You
Say it
can't
again.
provide any evidence for this.
Say it again.
So you're saying that you're not going to apply any specifics to the argument that you're making.
Mhm.
Therefore, you can't provide any evidence for it. So
Well,
how can you
I
expect
can, but
people
again,
to
I
readily
mean, the
agree with
whole
you
point
if
is
you have
that
to start the
the
conversation
well,
on a
the whole
basis of
point
trust?
is that you're getting bogged down in Z, and I'm talking about mediocre moderates, and I get it. Again, for some reason, you want to specifically talk about this one person. I'm not interested in specifically talking about this one person. I'm interested in talking about moderates as a whole. But I mean, the one thing
This
that if
keeps
anyone
moderates
knows
away,
me,
though.
the
I
one
need you to
thing,
understand
if
that.
anyone knows me, the one thing that they do know is that I keep receipts and I don't say stuff that I can't prove. Like, that's something that I don't do. There's
So you would have
nothing.
no issue proving it,
If
right?
there was any time that I wanted to prove anything that I'm saying, I could.
Then do it. Literally do it.
Why? For
Because
your satisfaction? No,
no,
thank you.
for the satisfaction of everybody who's aware of the situation.
And what does that have to do? Listen, when I told you, Patrick, that I am completely done with that, I mean it. So I would love it if you actually get back to the point of the background, Patrick.
And again, that's a really convenient cop out to tell me to get
I
back
hear
to the
you.
point of the background. But again, what I was
I hear you.
describing is a legitimate issue revolving the community that you exist under.
Cool.
Because
So
of this,
tell
a lot of
me
people saw this
why.
situation as a reason to not vote for Democrats because they see it
Sure.
as an
So
impossible
do
litmus
you
test to
think that
pass.
it's actually you think that it's more beneficial for the left, or for quote unquote Democrats, to try to target people on the right, to pull them away from voting for who they voted for? You think that's
This whole
more
situation
beneficial
is
than,
counterproductive
can
to
I
what you're
finish my
describing
sentence,
right now.
Patrick?
You absolutely can, bro.
You think that's more beneficial for them to target those people on the right and try to pull those people away versus actually trying to tap into the actual non-voter base and energizing those people that did not vote?
Am I supposed to respond to that?
Yes.
Okay, so I really don't understand how you've articulated your position in a way that could be in defense of the larger community's actions against Z. And so I
Again, why are
understand
you
that
talking
you've,
about Z? Patrick,
I will
focus.
explain it to you.
Focus.
as
Okay,
I've
no,
explained it to you
no.
multiple times, bro.
Patrick, listen to the question again.
Okay.
Listen to the question again. Do you think it's more beneficial for Democrats to try to steal voters from the right versus trying to energize non-voters and getting them to vote for the left?
So a vote against the right in favor of a vote for the left, that's a +1 -1 situation. So yes, if you're talking about it in a literal sense, taking people from the right into the left is going to increase electoral electability because you've got less people within one conglomerate and more people in another. And by taking people away from that conglomerate, you're exponentially increasing your chances of winning instead of pooling from a group of people who aren't affiliated at all. Which is definitely possible, by the way. I used to be a conservative, but
I'm
over
sure you
time,
did.
as I had more lived experience and I became older and I became more wise, I realized that my perspective was wrong. And so for people to take the time and the energy to change my mind, I'm eternally grateful for them. And so to treat these conservatives like they're irredeemable or that we can't reach across the aisle and change their perspective, it's counterproductive. And
Yeah,
when you say the
so
left
I
is
think
lazy,
I think that you're
absolutely agree with
you're
you, because
missing
you're
the point,
engaging in that
right?
behavior right now.
I think you're missing the point, right? Because again, at no point have I ever said that people on the right are irredeemable, right? I'm not saying that anyone's irredeemable, right? What I'm saying is you are saying, oh, it's a plus minus game. Cool, right? I get it, right? Taking away from your opponent while adding to yourself. Cool. That's cool. But what I'm saying is there's about 10 to 20 million registered voters who did not vote in the 2024 election, right? And when you talk about the actual difference as far as votes, if you would have even tapped into 5 million of that 10 to 20 million votes, that's a game changer for the left. My entire point,
It's not a
because the
zero-sum
reason why I
game,
say
bro.
that the
It's
left
not like
is
you can
lazy,
only
the
go
reason
for
why I
people
say
who
that
aren't
the left
pledged.
is lazy is because they won't do the hard work to actually get those people to
Like what you're
actually
doing
vote.
right now.
I'm sorry?
Like what you're doing right now.
What am I doing?
So you are not engaging with me in the initial argument that I made and trying to
Because you
obfuscate.
want to talk about Z, and I have no interest in talking about Z. My background doesn't say anything about Z.
I know, and that's really convenient for you. But again, this is
It's
something
not
that you
convenient
talk
for me
about at
because that's not
NACN.
the topic. What are you talking about?
Well, again, and this is a cop-out for you, right? Where you
How
can't
is this
engage
a
with
cop out if
legitimate
that's not the
criticism because you're
background? If
talking about-
listen,
Okay,
Patrick,
and
this is the thing. Patrick, this is the thing. There are people that are literally hosting lives talking about Z right now. If you want to go talk about Z, then go to one of those lives. This is not it. I mean,
Okay,
what are we
but
doing?
because what I was saying is that this ties in, what I'm just describing, this ties into a bunch of the prompts on there. Like, for instance, the left is lazy or mediocre moderates. And I think if you would let me articulate my point further.
Okay, cool. Go ahead and articulate your point, but don't mention Z's name. Go.
Okay, so this person, who I will not name.
No, that's a cop out because you're trying to you're indirectly you know what I'm saying. Don't be disingenuous. This is
No,
your
okay.
second time being disingenuous, Patrick.
Bro, I was obviously joking.
Okay, well,
Okay.
but like, come on.
So to label someone as irredeemable.
When did I do that?
Well, to be perfectly clear, I have to talk about the person I'm not allowed to talk about. to answer
No,
that
you
question.
don't, because
I do,
you know
I do.
you know why you don't. It's because your only point for coming up here was coming up to speak specifically about this person. And once you realize that this is
you're ignoring
not
what I
who I'm
just said.
talking about, and
It's
this is
related to
not
the
what this
prompts.
live is about, you keep
It
trying
is,
to get
though.
back to that point. You can't actually engage with the background because you didn't have an actual
am engaging with the
conversation about the
background,
background.
and you're not
You
letting me
specifically
address
wanted to
it.
talk about this one person, and I'm not allowing you
I
to
think
do
you're
so,
smarter
and it's
than this,
making it
bro.
hard for you to even talk.
I think you're smarter than this.
Oh, I'm very smart, but like that
agree
has
with you,
nothing
bro,
to
but
do
not-
with what we're saying, because again, at no point did I listen, you know what's funny? Like I don't know if you can see this, right? But there's like Donald Trump's face, there's Kamala Harris' face, there's Jill Stein, there's JD Vance,
You're not doing that,
we
you're
got Chuck
equivocating,
Schumer,
bro,
we
which
got
is
like all of
ridiculous.
these people on the background, right? But at no point did I have Z's face on this background, because you know what? Chuck Schumer is a mediocre
Again, bro,
a mediocre
you're trying
moderate.
to not engage with the argument that I'm espousing because you're talking about the prompt. When I told you multiple times, it ties into 2 of the prompts that you have on your screen. And so I'm going to try and articulate this.
Go ahead.
And not be interrupted, and I'd really appreciate it.
Go ahead.
So, to accuse somebody of not being able to apologize for actions that they personally don't see as reprehensible in any capacity, it keeps people away from the perspective that me and you both hold, and it makes the left look lazy.
Mm-hmm. Is that it?
So again, well, yeah, sure, that was it.
Okay. What makes the left look lazy is the fact that the left does not show up year over year to vote, right? The
You're
thing
not
that
engaging
makes
with
the
my
left,
argument, bro.
I sat here and I sat quietly and let you actually speak.
I know, but you're not engaging with my argument, and I think you know that.
You made a statement that me not engaging with this argument makes the left look lazy. That's not true. I'm explaining to you what makes the left look lazy. So like I said, what makes the left look lazy is the fact that they don't show up and vote year after year. What makes the left look lazy is that they are unwilling to actually energize and engage in a ground game the way that the right does, right? You have people on the right that go into certain...
How you can have political pacts without
you have people on the right that go into certain cities. You have people on the right that go into certain cities, that go into certain states, and they set up shop, and they're there for years to actually try to influence and flip those areas. You also have certain groups like the Heritage Foundation who spend over 50, almost, thank you for the I love you. You have people like the Heritage Foundation who spend over 50 years focused on one thing, which was overturning Roe, and crafting their actual initiative behind it and putting in the work just for them to get their hateful agenda passed. So when the left doesn't actually do the work when they're unwilling to actually invest in long-term issues, then that's lazy. So that's my point.
So again, Santana, I like you, bro, but you
Okay.
are just not engaging with what I'm saying. at
Because
all.
I
And
don't
think you
want
know
to
that.
talk about the person that you want to talk about. It's weird.
And I
It's
think
weird.
you don't
Again,
want to
if
because you
it
know that
listen,
you're wrong, bro.
listen, if you want to talk about this specific person, I've said it over and over and over and over again. There are people that host lives about these people every day, literally every day.
The situation
Every day.
regarding this person can
Why-
largely be extrapolated to bigger issues regarding. our
Well, you're
political
not doing that.
perspective.
Then extrapolate it to the bigger
Bro,
issues and make the bigger
I
issues
have done
connect.
it multiple times, but you just haven't engaged with it. So again, I will say this for like maybe like the 5th time at Nasium. People who see this situation look at the left like very performance artist
Mhm.
people. And so because of that, you have a lot of people on the right
Mhm.
who are normal. They go
Mhm.
outside, they breathe in the fresh air, they
Mhm.
touch grass, and they don't approach situations like this at all because they
Mhm.
can afford charitability to these people without necessarily having to label them as a racist and
Mhm.
ostracize them from entire political action committees which they lead
Mhm.
because of a ambiguous statement that was made against
Sure.
6 random
So,
people on a TikTok
Patrick,
live.
is it your belief that we should not hold standards, morals, and people accountable? Is that your
We should
position?
absolutely hold standards and hold people accountable.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
So, are you saying that the fact that the right doesn't actually do things like hold Donald Trump to account for the fact that he is a 34 count felon, the fact that he is adjudicated rapist,
Dude.
the fact that he actually lies more than he breathes, are you
I
saying that
agree with you.
are you saying that we on the left should actually do those same types of things?
Of course not. Of course
Okay,
I'm
so
not
then I'm
saying
not
that. Now, can
understanding
you
the
engage with my
equivalence.
argument?
I'm not
You don't
understanding the
want,
equivalence.
what aspect are you not understanding, to be more specific? Like, I know you
Yeah,
said the
the
equivalence,
fact that
but
you're saying that basically the left is canceling each other because we're holding standards and moral, but yet when I point out the same way that the right does not do so, because you talked about the people on the right that go out and touch grass and they don't actually hold these type of standards, those are the same people that are okay with racism. Those are the same people that
so
are
this
okay
isn't a
with
situation
sexism.
of
Those are the
holding
same people
standards.
that voted for
This
a
is an aspect of
fascist, someone who
mischaracterizing
meets
someone's
all
actions.
14 tenets of fascism. And you're saying that we should be
I
more like
agree
them.
with you that Donald Trump is a problem, bro. But it's
Okay, then
situations like this that further embolden people who support Trump. That's what
yeah,
I'm
I
saying.
hear you. But again, you're not engaging with my point. For some reason, you think that those people that are in a cult that have literally sat here and said, I'm good with Donald Trump doing it. Let's be clear about this, right? Donald Trump is not surprising me because Donald Trump is doing all the things that he said that he was going to do before he was elected, right? And those people voted for him knowing all of those things. So you're telling me that we need to concern ourselves with actually trying to reach those people that willingly voted for someone who is a fascist, as a sexist, a racist, a classist, someone who is all those things, instead of reaching out to that 10 to 20 million people that didn't feel like it was important enough for them to vote for one reason or the other. You think that's more important?
So my parents are conservative. They voted for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
I know personally that my parents are good people, right? I know that
Okay.
they go out and they every Sunday will go and stock up homeless shelters to go feed the
Okay.
homeless, right? So
Okay.
when you characterize every conservative as this irredeemable fascist supporting
You keep
lunatic,
saying that. Listen,
no, can I finish
I
my
have
point?
never,
Can I finish my
Patrick.
point? Can I finish
Patrick,
my point?
no, because I need you to be clear
Aw,
because you keep saying
aw.
something that's not true. I am not saying that these people are irredeemable. Please understand that.
You're saying
That's
we
not
shouldn't
what
try
I'm
and change
saying.
their perspective. That is that is kind of like you saying they're irredeemable.
No,
And saying that you don't want to invest any energy into changing
that's
their perspective.
that's what you think. What I'm saying is there are far more productive things to do than actually trying to target those people. That's my point. I'm not
So I
saying
think
that
if you
I'm
keep
not saying
ignoring
that
these
if there are
they're
people
only gonna
like
get more
I'm
and
not
more
saying Patrick, I'm not saying that there's people like your parents who actually want to have an open conversation or actually say, hey, you know what? I don't like what Donald Trump is doing. I don't like what the Republican Party is doing. Hey, tell me more about the left. Tell me more about your ideas. Tell me more like that. And I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is our focus should be on the non-voters. And if we get an opportunity to steal away people from the right, sure, let's do it. That's the point.
So I will engage. I just have to say one thing really quick. Your chat is being ridiculous. They're
Yeah,
saying that
why
I
are
need
you
to
worried about the chat?
disconnect.
Listen,
No,
bud, you're
because
literally
this is
on the
your
panel with
chat.
me.
You're
Why are you locked
cultivating
in on
this
the chat?
community, and they're literally talking about how I should disassociate from my parents. And this is
Okay,
the problem.
but again,
where it's
why
like
are
we can't
you?
even
Hey,
meet people where
Patrick,
they're
are
at
you
because we have
Patrick?
these
Are you
irredeemable
on
litmus
Patrick?
tests.
Are you on the panel or are you in the chat? Which one? Pick a struggle.
I'm on both, bro.
You
My mind is
can't
so
be.
big,
You
I
can't
can
be. You
fucking
know
I can
why?
be on both.
Because there's no way you can actually debate me and engage with the chat.
Bro, I've been
I'm
debating
already
you
up
for the
here
past
whipping
15
your
minutes.
ass, and you're gonna try to battle
You
the
can
chat
just
at
say
the
that,
same
that doesn't
time.
make it true, though.
It is not. Listen, this is not a good look for you. You can't do both, homie. Pick a struggle.
I've got so many struggles, and I got to reiterate all of them right now, bro.
Yeah, I hear you. So again, I need you to engage with what I'm saying, right? Because again, I'm not
Which you have
saying
not
that
done for
people
me, just
are.
to be
I'm
perfectly
not
clear.
saying people are irredeemable. I don't believe that people are irredeemable just because they voted for Donald Trump. But what I'm saying is that people that were willing to vote for Donald Trump did so with their eyes open, because Donald Trump did not lie to them about the things that he was going to do. And my point is, targeting those people that decided sitting home was more worth their while than actually getting out and voting. That's my point.
Okay, so as I will reiterate this, which I've done
Sure.
like probably 6 times now,
Sure, go ahead.
these actions of ostracizing somebody
Mhm.
because of a mischaracterization of what they did, this keeps people from joining the perspective that me and you both hold. And so what I mean by that is when you
I
look
don't
at all
think
these
we
people
hold
who
the
don't
same
necessarily
perspective.
even vote, they can even look at the situation and be like, man, I don't want to be engaged in politics
Mhm.
because this is way too multifaceted, and this is way too complicated for me, someone who's relatively normal and isn't
Mhm.
online all the time,
Mhm.
to engage with and not feel like I'm walking on eggshells, essentially.
Yeah. Hey, so question for you.
What's up?
Question for you. Like, what do you think is more important? Hold on one second. I'm sorry, 1 second. I'm sorry, give me 1 second. My entire point, right, is thank you for that. My entire point is I'm sorry, I lost my point because something else just happened and I was trying to
You're all good,
correct
bro.
it.
Take your time.
Can you repeat what you said, the last thing? I apologize.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are people who might necessarily not have voted in this past election
Mhm.
who are going to look at situations like this and they're going to feel like they don't even want to engage with politics at all.
Oh, okay, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
a lot of this seems like a impossible community to enter because so much of as it relates to the person that I was initially talking about, there's so much ambiguity in her statement that she to be labeled as a racist and to be publicly ostracized in front of thousands of people and have her entire pack basically fucking destroyed. And again, because she assumed that a person on or that 6 people on a TikTok live didn't have organizing experience, which is an incredibly niche job description. People will look at this situation and they will just write us off completely.
Yeah. So listen, this is the point that I was going to make, and you have a fan in the chat that's encouraging you and you know,
Who?
clapping
Wait,
for
actually,
you.
who?
It's Mercedes. Mercedes is
thank
yeah.
you, bro.
Mercedes is
I
in
see
the
you.
chat championing you on. And the funny
Shout out
thing is,
Mercedes. Can I get a W in
the
the
funny
chat for
thing is,
Mercedes?
the funny thing is, Patrick, I think she needs to hear this just as much as you need to hear this, because she doesn't get this point either. And I think the fact that you two are quote unquote former conservatives, right? You two don't understand this. But again, if you actually base the premise on policy and not a culture war, then you can actually win votes. If you the thing is, Donald Trump spent $240 million on transphobic ads, right? He specifically spent $240 million on targeting one something percent of the population instead of actually talking about anything that was going to be beneficial to everyday Americans, instead of actually putting out any type of real plans or policy. So with that being said, if the left actually leaned into those different things that people actually need, right? When it comes to real rights, when it comes to actual social safety nets, when it comes to improving the healthcare system within the U.S., actually providing pathways to ownership, those types of things. If they actually leaned into those things instead of trying to engage in these culture wars that the right want to, then you can actually get more people out to vote. If you can tell those people who are sitting on the couch how you're going to actually benefit them, then they would be more willing to actually get out and vote versus saying, well, I don't like what they're doing because they're canceling people. No, those normal everyday people don't care about that.
So do you think that the right engages in culture war issues?
Yes.
Because it's just something that they've constructed themselves, or is
Yes.
it because they can actually point to situations within these communities?
No,
where their
it's
arguments
because
can be
it's because the right always needs a boogeyman. They always need a boogeyman.
But
That's
you're
why we
providing
talk
them
about
one. You're
convoys. That's
providing
why
them
we
one.
talk about brown people. That's why we talk about transgender individuals. That's why we talk about DEI. That's why we talk about BLM. That's
agree
why
with you, bro.
all of those things come up, is because they always need a boogeyman, because they don't govern, they don't have policies, they don't pass bills. Donald
And you
Trump
are
himself
providing them
has
the
signed
perfect
multiple
boogeyman.
executive orders while not actually trying to pass
Yes,
any
Trump is bad.
bipartisan
I
legislation.
agree. You are providing them the perfect boogeyman.
Sure, I hear you. W's in the chat
Do
for
you, though?
Emmanuel. Emmanuel sent
Do
a
you hear me, bro?
$5. W's in the chat for Emmanuel. Emmanuel sent a $5 donation saying, ask the guest, does he not understand how harmful racism is? And this system of white supremacy is why we're here. Those systematic issues are why people people are led to believe lies. W's in the chat for Emmanuel. Thank you so much for that $5
Can I respond
donation,
to that?
Emmanuel.
Because I
And
think you
guys,
said I
just a
don't understand
reminder,
racism.
Cash App,
That's
PayPal,
pretty
Venmo,
ridiculous.
all of my pay links are in the link tree in the bio. Santana Speaks 24. Santana Speaks 24 is the best way to support the live. If you enjoy the information, education, entertainment, please consider donating. Everything is accepted. Anything is appreciated. And if you're over on YouTube, what up, YouTube? What up, Twitch? If you're over on YouTube, one, make sure that you're actually liking the stream. But also, two, if you would like to support the live, you can do so by sending a YouTube super chat. And I will go ahead and read that YouTube super chat out. All right.
All right.
So,
can I respond to that super chat?
well, that was a donation, but sure.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Patrick.
Yeah. So this person just accused me of not understanding racism.
I don't
personally,
think you do.
Okay. I take personal issue
Sure.
with that.
What?
Because again, you're
Wait. Okay.
accusing me of not
Let's get a
understanding racism
baseline.
based on
Let's get a
mischaracterization
baseline,
of
Patrick.
individual.
Let's get
Okay,
Patrick. Let's get a
do it.
baseline. What is race? What is race based off of?
Goodness, that is a hard question to answer.
It's not.
No, it is, because
It's
some
not.
people approach it through what is your ethnic identity in relation to how you physically look. Some people approach it as like, where are you geographically located and how you look.
Mm-mm.
So I would say personally, God, honestly, bro, this is a hard question to answer.
It's not.
Personally, I feel as it is, and I feel like
I hear you. It's
there are a
not,
lot
though.
of people that agree with me, but
Well, I mean, those would be people that don't understand race nor racism, and they're not equipped for the argument or the conversation, and that's why I say that. So, go ahead and tell me what race is based off of.
So, under my understanding of what race is, it's going to be a combination of factors regarding someone's ethnic identity, their skin tone, and maybe their geographic location. All these three
Race
things
is based
play
off of
into race.
phenotypical characteristics. Cool. What is racism based off of?
Racism is based off the exclusion of an individual on the basis of their race.
No.
Okay, what is it then?
Racism is based off of a system of oppression,
This
meaning.
person's saying I'm white-splaining. I was asked the question.
Yeah, cool.
You
Yeah,
idiot.
you are. Hey,
Jesus
listen,
Christ,
again, focus, Patrick. I promise you, I'm like you and I. Racism is based off of a system of oppression where the people at the top of said system are constantly oppressing those below them. They are using their quote unquote race to actually justify them being in a quote unquote superior position and being able to push down on them. And then you can talk about systematic racism.
That racism is power plus prejudice, essentially.
Yes, racism is a systematic oppression. Yes.
Okay, so Would you say then that someone calling someone a racial slur isn't racist if they're not imposing any systematic oppression upon them?
I think that it depends on the person, but I also think that
I
there
would say it's
are
racist,
people. I think
personally.
that you
I
can
would just say it's
also.
racist, dude.
I think if you cannot implement oppression, then you can be bigoted, but you cannot be racist, right? And then let's also be clear, right? Okay, cool. Hey, Patrick, let's play a fun game. Let's play a fun game. Patrick, are you a white man?
No, I'm actually black.
Yeah. Okay. Cool story.
Yeah, I'm white, dude.
So, Patrick, what word would you say is racist towards black people?
I'm not gonna say the word, dude.
Okay, what do you call it?
What do I call a word that is racist?
Yeah, what word are you thinking of? How would you, if you don't want to say the word and you want to identify the word, how would you identify that word?
I guess it starts with an M.
Oh, okay, so you're calling it the N word. Okay, cool. What word would you say is racist towards white people?
All right, so I'm gonna say this while
Okay.
fully understanding that
Okay,
these types of words cannot be equivocated
sure.
because one ties into a historical historical
System of
precedent, right?
oppression. Yep, you got it.
Yeah,
Keep going.
which I would
Say the
agree with
word.
you.
Say the word.
I'm not gonna say the word either.
What's the word?
Starts with a C.
Cracker?
Yeah, that one.
That's the word. Thank you.
Yeah.
Howdy, partner. Cool. So you realize
Again, I don't think
why?
we should use
No, I hear you.
racially
Listen.
descriptive
Hey,
terms
do
for
you
anybody. It's counterproductive.
realize why I was willing to say cracker, but I wasn't willing to say the N word?
Yes, of course.
Why?
Because again, white people haven't experienced the historical level of suppression or the current level of suppression that black people have experienced.
Oppression, not suppression.
Yeah, oppression for sure.
Yeah. Hey, question for you. Who came up with the N word? You cut out. I can't hear you. You cut out. I can't hear you.
I have no idea.
So you don't know that racist white people implemented that word?
I know that racist white people implemented that word. I just didn't know that the word originated from them.
Who came up with the word cracker?
I'm gonna assume it's a white dude.
Yeah. It was an actual term of endearment, right? So the reason why I say you can't even equivocate those two, and even more so, hey, hold on one second. Hey, Naquan, can you drop a here in the chat so I can find you? Naquan, can you just drop a here in the chat so I can find you? The reason why you can't equivocate the two is because of one, there we go. Because of the actual people, the actual not only meaning behind the word, but the actual people that created the words and things along those lines. And also too, again, you talk about this word, the N word, being a tool of oppression that has actually been harmful to black people over the years. And then you talk about the word cracker as a word that white people came up for themselves as a word of endearment. So again, when you talk about that, that's a simple baseline.
Comments. This again, I don't know how we derailed the conversation this much. Because again, I just agree with everything you just said. What I disagree with is your characterization of Z's actions to make her labeled as a racist person.
Again, the point that, so you disagree with the actual donation that I received, and I told you you don't understand, you are not equipped to have the conversation about racism because you don't understand racism.
That's really convenient. And while I can agree with you that I might not have enough lived experience to fully contextualize what racism is, I can agree with you there. But what I am saying is to look at Z's actions specifically as racist.
But she's not on the background.
Okay, but it ties into this mediocre moderate issue.
It does for you because for some reason you're so single-minded that you refuse to take a look at the big picture. Hey, question. Your parents that are quote unquote conservatives.
To you.
Your parents that are quote unquote conservative. How am I being single-minded?
Because you aren't engaging with the argument that I'm specifically describing, and you're trying to attach all of these other
so if
random
I'm sitting here saying that the bigger picture would be targeting people that didn't vote, while also being willing to engage in conversations
This
with
is
people
why
on the
people
right,
don't
while saying
vote.
being willing to engage with people on the right if they are trying to actually engage. How is that being single-minded? Because it sounds like I'm saying I understand what the focus should be, while also saying I understand we should not turn our backs on people that want to change. So how am I being single-minded?
Because you are characterizing this person as a racist person.
I have never,
No.
I did not bring up the person. That's you.
Dude. You're not even letting me articulate my point. You
Sure.
gotta let me
Go
speak,
ahead.
bro.
Go ahead. I
Okay.
apologize. Go ahead.
No, you're good, bro. So, if you are going to approach this situation single-mindedly, and what I mean by that is that you can only afford one understanding of this person and their actions, then you are being single-minded. Because again, her statement was incredibly ambiguous in nature. And so to not afford any charitability to this person, you are hyperfixating on one specific interpretation of her actions.
How do you know
and
what
going with that
how do you
completely.
know what charitability I afforded this person?
Because you said that she was racist.
Cool. But how do you know what charitability I afforded this person?
I mean, I'm not in your mind, right? But I
You,
can just
yeah, you're not.
generally
And so
infer.
do you remember at the beginning when I said that I have actual firsthand exchanges
Which you can't provide, right?
No, I
Which you're not
can,
willing to
but
provide.
why
Then
would I?
provide it.
If I'm sitting here,
Because you're in an
so
argument
cool,
right now.
Patrick, you are someone, and I start off saying, "Were you involved with this tour?" And you said no. Patrick,
Neither were the
I
people
am
on that panel.
I am
Neither were the
someone,
people on that
I
panel.
am someone who has had multiple conversations with this person. I am someone who has spent days sitting and talking to this person. I am someone who has actually had multiple
calling her a racist
conversations
in front
with
of
this
500
person
people right
on
now, but you're not willing to afford any evidence.
I have had
the
multiple
issue.
conversations with this person on racism and what should or should not happen. And what I'm telling you is that you are sitting up here trying to actually look at things when you don't have an actual viewpoint to actually speak from. You're speaking from the feelings in your tum-tum, and I'm sorry, I don't give a damn about your feelings in your tum-tum. That's why I keep trying to save you from this argument and trying to get you to engage with the background, but for some reason, you are so hyper fixated on this one person instead of actually engaging in the overall conversation, because if you really cared about winning votes, you would be talking about how we would target those people, and even more so, if you really cared about those people on the right, like your parents that you want to pull away from the MAGA code, then you would be talking about ways to actually target them instead of actually talking about the issues that the left have. What the fuck are we doing, Patrick?
Again,
what are we doing?
If I showed this conversation to my parents, they would laugh their fucking asses off.
Yeah, that's because you brought this conversation to your parents instead of actually bringing anything else to your parents. Give me a second, Patrick. Give me a second.
Okay.
Give me a second. W's in the chat for Angie, who sent a $2 donation saying, "Sorry, I don't have more." Angie, you first and foremost, never, ever, 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 ever apologize. Angie, thank you so much for the donation. It means so much to me. I promise you it does, especially in this economy, especially how things are. Anything that you ever donate, I appreciate that so much. So thank you. And I truly mean that. W's in the chat for Angie says, "Sorry, I don't have more, but I wanted to thank you for what you're doing. I've always learned so damn much from you, and you're out here cooking and winning on this beautiful Sunday, trying to educate the easily manipulated and misinformed." Angie, thank you so much for that $2. You are absolutely far too kind. W's in the chat for Hector. What up, Hector? Hector sent a $5 donation saying, "According to Patrick, we win by doing what MAGA does, which is letting people get away with vulgarity for the quote unquote greater good of appealing to people like them, which is inherently censoring, proving the background. The GOP behavior is strong." And this one and your message was cut off, but I definitely agree with you, Hector. I appreciate you, my brother. W's in the chat for Hector for that $5 donation. W's in the chat for Emmanuel, who sent a $5 donation saying, "Ask the guest, does he know all white people are inherently racist? That does not mean that they're horrible people."
Statement.
No, it's a factual statement. We can get into it in a minute.
We can definitely argue on that.
Yeah, sure. Listen to the rest of Emmanuel's statement, because again, he specifically explains this, right? That does not mean they're horrible people. Just being the I'm assuming you meant just by their just by the way that the system is designed for them to benefit, and anytime they can use their whiteness for benefit. You're absolutely right. W's in the chat for Emmanuel for the $5 donation, and W's in the chat for Kinsey for the $10 donation, saying, I'm tired of hearing other white people argue what is race. Why can't we listen to black creators and learn from it? Love you, Santana from Maine. Thank you so much, Kinsey. You are absolutely far too kind. You're absolutely awesome. Debbie's in the chat for Gene, who sent the $1 donation, saying, this is all I have. Gene, stop it. Stop it. I want to say that it's weird how these people are always dumping for racism and racist. Yeah, Gene, like it's weird. It's weird. It's weird behavior when there's a lack of accountability. But guys, W's in the chat for Gene. Guys, thank you so much for the donation. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, all the pay links are in the link tree in the bio. Santana Speaks 24. Best way to support the live. Anything is accepted. Everything's appreciated. If you're over on YouTube and you want to support, you can send a YouTube super chat. Guys, let's get the likes up, right? Let's get the likes up to 100,000 likes. I know I haven't said this in a while, and I'm also going to reset this daily gift goal. Can we get the likes up? Can we knock the daily gift goal out? Can we do like all the wonderful things? I know we have kind of not gotten out of the blocks yet because we have been kind of bogged down with Patrick, but hopefully we can continue to move forward. Get in the box if you disagree with any of the points on the background. Do all the wonderful things. And again, this is the alternate account, guys. So if you're not following this account, you may see me and you may think, oh, it's Santana. I'll follow Santana. Make sure you're following this account. Make sure you're following this account. This is the account that we're going to be working off of as of right now. And last but not least, this is my backup account down here. Heart me, you have to go back up to the actual the heart, and once you go back up to the heart, then you have to actually hit claim. That's the only way that it counts. So send your daily heart me and make sure that you claim it. All right, so Patrick,
Yes,
I want you to do this, right? Because you've been talking about other people specifically and all this other stuff and like complaining, right? Patrick, can you tell me tell me something specific that we can do on the left to reach those people on the right that you want to reach, like your parents, and I'm assuming other people that you care about. What can we actually do on the left to reach those people and to quote unquote pull them to our side?
So we don't have to engage in these impossible litmus tests to pass.
Okay, that's not, listen, hey, listen, Patrick, take a step back, because I think you're missing this. I don't want to hear the complaints again. I want to hear solutions. What can we actually do as a solution?
Just give you a solution, and it revolves around not engaging in the behavior you're describing right now. Of labeling this person as a racist and then not providing any contextual evidence to base that claim off of.
Okay.
In front of 500 people, might I add.
So your solution is to get those people on the right is to not talk about certain stuff. I'm so confused. Again, if you I think you're missing the point, Patrick. How do you convince those people to vote for the things that you want them to vote for, Patrick? I
don't think you're listening to me, bro.
I don't think that this is making any sense to you because you're so hyper fixated on this one thing. It's weird.
Fucking sense, dude.
It's weird.
Fucking sense.
It doesn't. You came up here and you've tried to white knight this entire time for someone that you don't know. Patrick, do you personally know Z?
No.
Then why are you sitting up here pretending as if you do? This is weird. You're exhibiting weird behaviors. This is a weird parasocial relationship that you have created with this person, and you do not know this person.
Parasocial when that's not the case. I'm just defending somebody.
No, you're defending someone.
Doesn't mean I have a parasocial
imagine defending someone that you don't. Imagine defending someone that you don't personally know. Imagine defending someone that you don't personally know. You don't have all the information. All you have is your white mediocrity coming up here and saying those things with your whole chest. You don't understand race. You don't understand racism. All you understand is that you are a former conservative and you think for some reason that you need to put on your cape and come and stand up and save someone when you don't understand any type of factors. It's weird. You're being weird, bro. You're being weird.
That's a really
at no point. Being weird, bro. You're being weird.
That's a really
at no being weird, bro. You're being weird.
That's a really
At no
convenient way.
point. What are we doing? What do you actually do? What's the work? What's the actual work that you can do? Are you going to go knock on doors? Are you going to actually sign up to work on someone's campaign? Like what can we actually do? Instead of saying, well, we shouldn't be talking about these things. What can you actually do? What's the actual work, Patrick?
What could we do right now to win over people who necessarily didn't vote?
Yes.
I think we could articulate our positions in a way that
How?
shows that. Yeah. Let me answer. So I think we could articulate our position in a way that shows that the current president, who we exist under right now, absolutely is a racist person.
Okay.
Absolutely is a fascist person.
Okay.
And we shouldn't equate my perspective. And again, a lot of people in your chat are calling me a bigot.
I hear you.
I'm a bit personally invested in the situation.
Yeah.
I would not equate my perspective and my behaviors with his.
So your point is we should tell more people that Donald Trump is a racist.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. How did that work out in 2024?
Not too well.
Exactly. So you want to keep doing the same thing that didn't actually make any type of gain. So your point is go back to the same thing. Your point is continue being mediocre so we can continue to lose. Got it.
Got it. I think you're being mediocre, bro.
I hear you, but I am not only am I dog walking you, but I am specifically doing things that I am specifically doing things to actually make sure that I am doing the work, i.e. I am getting out into the community, not only talking to people face to face, but organizing multiple events, including trying to make sure that we target non-voters. Like those are the actual things. So you keep talking about, oh, this or that. You don't have, listen, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to be completely honest with this.
Here it comes.
I'm going to be completely honest with this.
Okay.
You are performative at best, right? Like the only thing that you have are complaints.
You way more than it can be for me,
I hear you. I hear you, but you know what's funny? You know what's funny? I actually do more to try to make sure that I'm helping people than get on and complain about someone not talking about something that you want to talk about. Anywho, like I said, you at the very best could be looked at as someone who is performative, right? But I've given you multiple opportunities over and over and over and over to talk about how you can actually do the work. What can you actually do that would be beneficial? What are the actual things? like tangible things for you to do, and you have no answer for those tangible things. So again,
That's not
did
true.
you,
That's literally not
your
true.
whole point, you've been up here a long time, and the only thing that you've done is complain and bitch and whine and moan. You have brought nothing to this conversation. You have come up here and you've stood on a premise of nothing. You've caped for someone you don't know. You have spoken from a position of ignorance because you don't have the facts, and you have brought nothing to this conversation. So last but not least, Patrick, do you have solutions to get people who did not vote to actually vote for the left?
Yeah.
Sure. Give me the solutions.
We need to afford people more charitability in these situations. That's a solution right there.
That's not
to afford people more charitability.
That's not a solution.
No,
You're uplifting racism.
Everybody.
You're saying that cool. You're saying cool. We should let people be racist and not hold them accountable. Yeah. W's in the chat for Jamal. W's in the chat for Jamal. Jamal said yeah, Mercedes is in the chat with the MAGA pillowcase with the eye holes. Yeah, we know that. W's in the chat for Jamal for that $15 donation. W's in the chat for Ash, who sent a $1.99 super chat to say it was not ambiguous. Yeah, absolutely. I don't even remember what that's referring to. Ambiguous. So W's in the chat for Ash for that $1.99 super chat. Guys, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, all the pay links are in the link tree in the bio. Santana Speaks 24, best way to support the live. Anything is accepted, and everything is appreciated. With that being said, Patrick, you really have brought nothing to the conversation.
That's absolutely not true.
You started, yeah, it is. You started off lying.
You have to let me speak.
Cool. You started off lying.
So
you started off lying, and then not only did you start off lying, but then you came up here and you spoke from a place of not having any real information. Okay, cool, Patrick. I'll give you this. Can you provide one actual fact, not your feelings, one fact about anything that would actually validate your point of this person not being racist?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Organizing is incredibly niche. That's a fact. Organizing is incredibly niche. And so to make the claim that someone can't assume that 6 people have not participated in organizing is not fucking racist, dude.
So no, you can't provide one fact. Got it.
That was literally a fact.
Cool. No, that's your opinion.
Literally a fact.
That's your opinion.
You know what? Can I look up a statistic right now? How many?
Sure. Go ahead and look up whatever you need, guys. W's in the chat for Mariah. Mariah, thank you so much. Holy smokes, for the 100 Nordic. I don't know how much that is, but holy shit, 100 Nordic, whatever that is, from Mariah, who sent a YouTube super chat to say hi from Norway. I hear you on Dean and Parker's lives all the time. Glad to see you on YouTube. Love your community. Listen, thank you so much for that $100 Nordic donation. You are absolutely far too kind. Thank you for that actual donation. Thank you. I really appreciate that for the YouTube super chat. Patrick, you have a statistic that you would like to demonstrate.
My internet's fucking up right now. You got to give me a little bit more time.
It's not just your internet, it's YouTube, bud.
Okay. Hey, Santana, you're a funny guy, bro. I'll give you that.
My wife thinks I am, so that's all that matters to me. Yeah.
All right. My internet is working. Here we are. So I'm going to pose this question into the Google search bar. What % of people in the United States has engaged in organizing? And before I get the answer for this, what do you think the threshold should be?
I don't know.
Like what % of individuals?
Again, you're saying this, but again, that's super general. If the point would have been political organization,
I agree with you.
If the point would have been political organization, then you can. If the point would have been political organization, then you may have a point. But when you talk about organization, again, there's different levels, ways, all these types of things that you can. Hell, you can be a project manager. You can be a project manager, and the whole premise of your job is organization. So again, it's a super vague statement for you to say they don't have any organization skills or experience. Now, again, if she would have said political organization, there's a huge difference. So yeah.
Okay, so because she didn't say political organization and she just said organization, that's adequate enough information for you to completely call her a racist and ostracize her in front of thousands of people and get her removed from her position in a political action committee that was actually advocating against conservatives.
Patrick, you're missing the whole point, bud.
I think you
listen,
are, bro.
You're missing the whole point. The entire point. I've said this over and over and over, and for some reason you feel like I need to actually justify this for you, and I won't do it because one, I don't care enough about you to actually justify anything to you, but two, I have made a firm line that I am not going to do this. But when I tell you that I have engaged and I have information prior to, during, and after that actually validates the things that I'm saying
today, which you cannot.
Why would I?
Today.
Yeah, I'm not.
And again,
you
say, why can't you? Because maybe this is a person that you're calling a fucking racist in front of 600 people.
Okay, I would call her a racist and more than. Listen, I bring in 10,000, bring in 20 million, bring in the 186 million registered voters or 170. I would call her a racist in front of all of them, and I would stand on big business because I mean what I say, and I don't say stuff that I cannot prove. I don't give a damn if you believe it or not. I know for a fact that I don't say stuff that I cannot prove, and so I would never say anything that I can't prove. I don't care what you think, Patrick. You don't even have enough. You're not even genuine enough. You're not even genuine enough to, one, come in here from a truthful position, two, to actually come in here on a real account. You're not genuine enough to come in here on a real account with your real name or to turn your camera. Three, you don't understand any types of concepts when it comes to racism, when it comes to race. You don't understand any of these things. So legitimately, Patrick, why should anyone care about anything that you're saying? Because you have over and over and over and over proved that you have nothing except the feelings in your tum-tum.
Hang on, I'm putting on a shirt just so I can hide my masculine presence when I turn the camera on.
Sure.
I can give you my social security card too if you want.
Sure. Go ahead and put your social security number out on the internet.
I don't know why I can't turn my camera on. I'm like clicking the camera button and it's not letting me.
Yes, because you're in here on a burner account, bud. Go get your real account.
I am not on TikTok, dude.
You have 10 followers and you're following one person. Why does
that have any relevance in this conversation, dude?
No, the point is you're in here on a burner account. Like, that's the point.
It's not a burner account. I am not on TikTok, dude.
Okay, so okay, cool. You're not on TikTok. Then is it that you came specifically in here just to actually debate me on a point that's not on the background? If you're not on TikTok, how did you end up on my live?
Exactly related.
If you're not on TikTok, how did you end up on my live? Exactly. Well, you're lying again.
I'm on TikTok.
You're lying again.
This is my only account.
You're lying again. There's nothing that you can say that I'm going to believe you because you're a liar, Patrick.
You are not engaging with my argument.
You're a liar. Why would I engage with anything? You're disingenuous. You're a liar. Like, what are we talking about?
You're not engaging with my arguments.
What are we talking about? W's in the chat for Emmanuel, who sent a $5 donation saying, last question, why does these mediocre white men why is it that these mediocre white men are more afraid of being called racist than actually dismantling racism? That shit is mind-blowing. You're absolutely right. They're more worried about being called racist than actually dealing with racism. Because if you actually dealt with racism, then you wouldn't have to worry about being called racist. W's in the chat for Hector, who sent a $1 donation saying, Patrick, you do this one thing for me. Maybe we'll talk about that kink of yours. Z, you don't have to. I read it out anyway. You put that too late. W's in the chat. Thank you for that dollar donation. W's in the chat for Phil, who sent that $3 donation, saying guess is proving inherent racism. This is a group fighting back that hasn't taken accountability, has joked about their actions and haven't taken the steps to actually reflect and learn. They are being defensive. That's exactly what it is. Listen, I'm going to keep it really simple for you, Patrick, because maybe you're like me. I'm a simple man with a simple understanding, right? And for me, right, my wife calls me out on the way that you improve yourself is by taking a step back. You listen to that criticism, especially if it's coming from someone and a place of actual, genuine love, care, or whatever the case may be.
Right,
and then you take that information in, you reassess yourself, you take that information. Yeah, you're not going to talk over me while I'm talking about my wife. You take that information in and you actually accept that information, and then you make an assessment from that point. Okay, is this something that's actually happening, or is this not a thing? And so I try to learn from the things that my wife tells me, like, hey, you're doing this. And instead of me just now saying, I didn't do this, I say, well, I didn't mean to actually do this. And then I started thinking about intent, and intent doesn't matter to the people that the thing happens to. Intent only matters to the person that's doing it. So for you to come up here and say, well, I don't think she was being racist, or even some people say, I don't think she was trying to be racist. Yeah, no one cares about her intent. It's the actual action. And even more, I said this at the beginning of the conversation, everyone fucks up, right? Everyone makes mistakes or makes bad decisions or whatever. It's about what you do after you do those things. After you do those things. That's the point. And if you can't admit that you did or said something wrong, then that's a you problem, bud. Get therapy.
All right, can I speak now?
Sure, make a point.
Yeah, so if your wife gave you a criticism of your behavior, and you personally did not see that behavior as being warranted of being like reprimanded, and you listen to their critiques, and yet you're still of the position that your actions are okay, what would you do in that situation?
I would still, no, you threw the question out. I would still actually take in that information. I would actually apologize, because again, it's not about intent, right?
So again,
if someone is telling me that your words or actions are harmful, your words and actions are harmful, then it's not up to me to say, no, my words and actions aren't harmful. How can I dictate what harm that I did to someone else? That doesn't even make sense. How Patrick, if I slap you in the face and then you get upset because you said, oh,
you are equating these actions,
if you say, oh,
harm, dude, that is ridiculous.
If Patrick, if I slap you in the face and you say, oh, you hurt me, and I say, well, Patrick, I didn't punch you. Stop. That wasn't harmful. It would have been harmful if I would have punched you, but I just slapped you. That's not harmful. How can I tell you the type of physical pain that
desire of having their argument blasted in front of thousands of people? And so again, you are equivocating Z's actions to physical violence against another person.
Sure.
When that is ridiculous, bro.
You know what the problem is with all of this, though, Patrick?
I want you to articulate what was so.
You know what the problem is with all of this?
You should
Patrick,
really do that for your audience.
Patrick, do you know what the problem is with all of this? Patrick, what do you do for a living in general? You don't have to be specific. What do you do for a living?
I work in the service industry.
You work in the service industry. Cool. Hey, Patrick, if you work in the service industry, right? Let's say you work at a restaurant, right? You work at a restaurant and you are a waiter, right? And there's someone that's a guest. You bring them their food and they say, you know what? This food is crap. I hate this food. This is horrible. And you say, oh, I'm sorry. Let me go get the manager. And you can talk to the manager, right? Do you think that would be appropriate for the owner of the restaurant to then come out and say, how dare you say that our food is crap? You don't know. You're not a chef. You've never cooked food before. What experience do you have with making 5-star dishes? Do you think that's the appropriate response?
Do you think that was Z's response?
Can you answer the question?
No, personally, I would say that the owner going in front of the table and ostracizing them, that's not an acceptable response.
Perfect.
Can that be equivocated to
So
Z?
with that
Can you
being
explain
said,
why that's the case?
Patrick, if you are
You're not
someone
gonna do
that is
that, just to be
supposed to,
perfectly
if
clear,
you
you're
are
not gonna
someone
do
that is
that.
supposed to be the organizer, right? The organizer of an entire tour, someone that's trying to establish a movement, someone that is trying to do something beneficial, do you think that that person should go into and have individual arguments with people that disagree with what they're doing, or should they actually be held to a higher standard where they don't actually engage in those one-offs or actually do anything that could be harmful to what they're trying to do?
Okay, can I engage with this without being interrupted? Can I get confirmation on that before I start?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So within your hypothetical, right, where I bring food to a table, imagine that this food is impeccable. It's adequate. It is within the framework of what the person had ordered. And so this person then hyperfixates on one very incredibly small aspect of the dish and asks for the entire dish to be taken back to the kitchen and remade. Don't you think that's a bit ridiculous? Can you answer that question? Can you answer that question?
No.
Really? So if there is if there's a single fry on that plate that might be a bit too, I don't know, maybe a bit too over fried, maybe a bit too crispy, you think it's valid for that person sitting at the table to send back that entire plate? And if you are,
so
you should literally never go inside of a restaurant.
the reason why I said no, Patrick, and again, it's because you're not understanding, right? So it's not about a single fry on the dish, right? What this is, Patrick, I'm allergic to shellfish, right? I'm allergic to shellfish. Like I can't have shrimp. What this is equivalent to is someone bringing out an amazing dish and they have a piece of shrimp on the dish and me saying, I can't have that. I can't have that dish. I can't have that dish. It's harmful. It will hurt me. And so, Patrick, racism is harmful. It's not something that we can just skim over to say, well, everything else is good. And so, yeah, it's a little bit of racism, but we can, get past let's not let the little bit of racism actually bypass the rest of the good stuff. That's what you're doing, Patrick. You're saying that it's okay to accept a little bit of racism because the greater good.
Can I articulate my point? Can I articulate my point?
You can try, but you're not doing a good job.
I will absolutely concede the point that as a white dude, I can't fully contextualize racism like someone who's actually had
why are
lived
you sitting up
experience.
here telling
No, let me
me? Why are
explain.
you
Let
sitting
me
up here
explain.
telling black
Because I
people?
can absolutely
Why are you
explain.
sitting up here telling a black person that a white woman was not racist?
I can explain this perfectly.
You don't understand race or racism, then why are you trying to tell a black man from the South that's dealt with racism all his life that she wasn't racist? That doesn't make sense.
It does make sense, and I can explain it why. Just because I don't have that same level of lived experience as some of the people on that panel, it doesn't mean that I can logically presume that her actions or her statement, was it ambiguous in nature?
W's in the chat for Trisha.
See, you're
Trisha
just
sent a
not engaging,
$15.
bro. You're just
Trisha
not
sent a
engaging.
$15 donation saying for trying to help the greater good and not allowing to disrupt you while talking about your wife. You know, absolutely right. He would not cut me off while I'm talking about my wife. W's in the chat for Trisha. Thank you so much for that $15 donation. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, all the pay links are in the link tree in the bio. Santana Speaks 24. Best way to support the live. Everything is accepted. Anything's appreciated. I'm gonna make it really simple for you, Patrick. And this is my last point, right? I fancy myself as someone who absolutely is an ally for women's rights, right? I do. I fancy myself that I fancy myself in wanting to believe, uplift, and empower women, especially Black women, but women in general, right? And so the one thing that I always do is openly admit that I am inherently sexist, right? I'm inherently sexist because I am not a woman. I am coming from a position of
Yeah, that's ridiculous,
privilege.
bro.
I'm coming from a position of privilege because I do not have to face the adversities that women have to deal with, especially Black women. So in that case, I would never, ever, 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 ever tell a woman that someone is not being sexist
I don't
towards
believe
them.
you. I don't believe you.
I hear you. I don't care what you believe. So I would never tell a
That's very
woman.
fucking clear, dude.
I would never tell a woman that I don't believe that someone is being sexist towards them. And even more than that, if I have a position that I believe, but a woman comes to me and tells me like, hey, the position that you hold on to is a negative position. It's not something that you should actually cling to. Then I immediately take a whole step back and say, let me reevaluate. So the simple fact of the matter is, Patrick, you came up here caping for someone you don't know, someone you don't have actual information, firsthand knowledge about, and you spoke on a situation that not only it was not listed on the background. It was not listed on the background. And there's multiple lives where if you want to talk about this person specifically, take your burner account to those other accounts that are willing to
You
speak
obviously
about
from the
this
point like
person.
no one else I've ever
Speak
seen, dude.
to this person, speak on that person on your burner account directly. But you came up here, you lied from the start. You openly admitted that you're ignorant of facts. You openly admitted that you don't know what racism and race is really based in just by your actual quote unquote definitions. You're inequipped for this conversation. And not only are you inequipped for this conversation, you're someone that's unwilling to actually accept information or even try to have a perspective. So I'll say this, Patrick, if you care about your family, if you actually care about those people on the right that you're trying to reach, maybe think of an actual solution conversation with me about your actual actions, the things that you want to do to reach those people on the right, or better yet, to reach those non-voters, then you come back and you have a conversation with me and I will help you. Until then,
For the record,
you and your burner account can go. Simple. Simple. W's in the chat for Tom. Tom sent a $10 donation saying, I'm a white woman that has adopted 3 biracial boys. Where do they fit in? It's not racist. I'm not a racist. Hold on. I'm not racist. Never have and ever will be. I go by people's actions, whether they're a good person or a bad person. who will protect my kids when I'm not around. Yeah, listen, I'll say this, Tom. If you are someone, right, and you're speaking to, you know, like someone being a good person, bad person, whatever, and I get that and I agree. The simplest way to actually put it is protecting people means that you have to listen to people and you have to actually have empathy, right? And you're right. Yeah, I see that biracial is not a race. You're absolutely right. But having empathy is key, right? That's why I have a problem with what was being said, because this is not about saying that the people on the right that voted for Donald Trump are irredeemable. That's not it. It's about saying that we should be focused on more important things. And I stand on that. With that being said, guys, if you are someone that disagrees with points on the background, I know we kind of got bogged down and we went all around the world. If you are someone that disagrees with points on the background, if you disagree with mediocre moderates, which, yes, Patrick is a mediocre moderate. I said it and I mean it. If you are someone that disagrees that moderates are mediocre, get in the box. If you're someone that doesn't believe that MAGA is a cult, get in the box. If you're someone that doesn't believe that the left is lazy, and Patrick just proved the fact that the left is lazy, because I kept saying, what are your actions? What do you do? And Patrick could not tell me one thing except talk about how Donald Trump is racist. That's lazy. That's a cop-out. That's a cop-out. You're lazy. Get in the box. If you're someone that's on the right, if you're MAGA and you for some reason think that you don't put your feelings over facts, which we know you do because you lean into your fifis, then get in the box. And last but not least, if you are someone that's someone that is a non-voter, and please be clear about this, if you voted for a third party, you're a non-voter. Get in the box, because you're the worst. Non-voters, you're the one that give people like Patrick a voice. I'll say that again. Non-voters, you're the people that make Patrick feel as if his opinion is valid. You're the people that actually make MAGA think that what they are doing is the majority, right? They believe that what they are doing, because they quote unquote won, that they're the majority. So if you're someone that actually believes in any of those things, get in the box. Get in the box. Guys, keep tapping the screen. Let's go ahead and get the live up to 150,000 likes. Let's get the shares up. Let's get the shares up to 200 shares. Let's also, guys, can we knock out the daily gift goal? It's the little donuts. It's the donuts. Let's knock out the daily gift goal. It's the donuts. Let's knock those out. Let's knock those out. Patrick, why are you coming back? I'm not talking to you again. What's the point? Like, quite literally, there's no point of talking to you again. You can actually leave the guest request, Patrick. There's no point of talking to you. As a matter of fact, you know what, Patrick? This is what I'll do. Patrick, come back on your main account. Come back on your main account, Patrick, and I'll let you back up. Do that. Do that, Patrick. Come back on your main account, and I'll let you back up. What just happened? Why does the screen look like that? Did I accidentally do something? Well, this is weird. What in the world is happening here? Does anyone know what I just did? Why do I look like that? How do I fix this? Let's see. What in the world just happened? Oh, hold on. There we go. I be fucking up, guys. I don't know what just happened. Anyway, if you disagree with the background, get in the box. If you disagree with the background, get in the box. If you disagree with the background, get in the box. If you disagree with the background, get in the box. If you disagree, get in the box. If you do not tap the screen, share the live, do all the wonderful things. Let TikTok know we're in the building. W's in the chat for knocking out the daily gift goal. Also, W's in the chat for Erica, who sent a thanks for spitting facts, Santana. Always impressed by your lives. Keep up the good work. Part of the reason why we are here is because white people don't want to acknowledge their racism. Patrick is a great example. You're absolutely right. I mean, like, the simple fact of the matter is that if we cannot actually admit to those inherent biases that we have, the fact that we are there's certain points that we know for a fact that we have those advantages, and if you're unwilling to actually acknowledge those and say that people that don't have those things, like everyone, like, you can make it as simple as saying that everyone, unless you are a disabled person, you're ableist. You're inherently ableist because you don't live a life of a person that's disabled. You don't have to think. I was having a conversation with someone one time, and I was talking about a place that I wanted to take a trip to. And I would, like, my thoughts around the place was like, oh, they have this, they have that. I wonder if there's this. Like, I'm wondering if I'm going to be able to drink the water or whatever the case may be. And the first thing that they said was, is this place handicap accessible? Do they have places for wheelchairs? And I said, I had never thought about that. I've never thought about that. So yeah, like that's what we're dealing with. I'm sorry, is that Panamania's Heights? I'm sorry, how do I say your username?
Palamedes.
Say it again.
Palamedes.
Panamedes. Can I just call you Heights? Is that okay?
You can.
Okay, perfect. Heights.
You can call me Dwayne too. That's my name.
Dwayne. Okay, Dwayne. Did you vote left? Did you vote right? Are you a non-voter? Which one?
I voted left, and I know you're looking for opposition, but no one's come up. So, I was hoping.
Well, I mean, there's people in the box, but I didn't let them up because I know for a fact that they're not opposition. So
okay. Well, if you're just looking for opposition, I just wanted to say one quick thing then.
Sure, really quick, friend.
55-year-old white male.
Mm-hmm.
And what people don't realize is that when I grew up, what we learned in history was put by the daughters of the Confederate, a lot of the things. And you're taught this. And it is taking a lot of deprogramming. And you listening to you helps me do that, just so you know. So, yeah, I mean, you're helping me understand. I'm not mean to be racist, but inherently I am, because I'm doing what I've been taught, which has been racist.
Yeah, I mean,
and I think that's what people are missing when you say white people are inherently racist. It's because we were taught to be racist.
Yeah, and again,
not because we want to be racist.
Yeah, I mean, the whole point that I'm trying to make is that when you have something that benefits you, and that's why I always speak from, like, my position of privilege as a man, right? I mean, the patriarchal system that's here in the United States is set up for men to actually benefit. Now, we understand that there's still levels to that actual patriarchal system, and who has access to the highest point of that systems versus who is at the lowest points of those systems. But I have to admit that as a man, I literally have access, and I am benefiting in ways that women can't, right? And specifically Black women. And so, like, for me to actually ignore that would be, I could never call out someone for being racist if I can't call out my own sexism. That's the point.
Right. And what you've been helping me do is, and I'm not, at the beginning of BLM, I had friends, I lost them all because I didn't understand. Sometimes, even if I agree with them, I just needed to shut up and let them go through it. Even I had no part in it.
Sure.
And it's funny because you're making me realize that what they were telling me then, they just didn't have the patience in talking to me like you do these people. Yeah. So I didn't understand what they were saying. So you're helping me realize a lot of things.
Yeah. Well,
So I
thank you
appreciate that.
for, no, listen, thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part, and thank you for your perspective. I'm gonna go ahead and drop you down. Okay.
Okay. Yep. Have a
All
nice
right.
day.
Appreciate you. Guys, W's in the chat for Emmanuel. I know I'm friendly, but I do disagree with the point on the back. Listen. Okay. Hold on one second. W's in the chat for Steve, who sent a $5 donation saying, "Good work, young man." Respect, Steve. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you for that $5 donation. You're absolutely amazing, guys. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, all the pay links are in the link tree in the bio. Santana Speaks 24, best way to support the live. Everything is accepted. Anything is appreciated. If you are over on YouTube, you can send a YouTube super chat and help actually support the live, and I will read that message out. At the very least, make sure you're tapping the screen over on YouTube, and we can definitely go from there. So we have Emmanuel up here, a young man that I have a lot of respect for. But Emmanuel said that he has an argument. He has a disagreement with the background. So Emmanuel,
And
I disagree.
tell me what you disagree with.
Voters take.
You immediately turn into a teacup.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. Well, I could.
My headset. You can hear me now?
Yes.
But no, wait. What I was saying is I do disagree with your non-voters are the worst take.
Tell me why.
Because just like based upon the last conversation you had, it obviously goes to show that those moderate folks are a lot harder to even communicate with than people who are just absolutely disconnected with our political system. So because of being able to like get or rally people into something they can believe in and understand what they how our political system comes through education and through things I've been able to do grassroots work where there's people who had no idea how politics affect their lives. Those non-voters are actually much reachable than moderate voters. And I feel like that's been an approach in which like the Democratic Party has been approaching politics for a long time as a wrong approach because they're intentional with not wanting everyone to vote. And that based upon like why they would never actually give places like DC its actual political representation or even Puerto Rico or other like US territories, because if everyone is a participant of said system, then we would actually have to have a working system for everybody.
Yeah. So this is why I disagree, right? And it's not in the sense of saying those voters are unreachable, because I do agree with you, right? And that's the point that I was trying to make to Patrick, in the sense that like people who are actually people that are entrenched in their side, they're not easy to pull away. That's why I think it's more beneficial to reach those non-voters, right? The reason though that I say that they're the worst is because they are a subsector of the voting base where if they actually were to engage, we could implement change, right? And this is why I say this. We understand that there's an ebb and flow of political power that shifts from left to right to left to right. And the reason why we don't have certain progressive things or views, or we can't actually get things that are beneficial to the overarching majority, is because that we keep allowing power to slip back to those people that want to conserve whatever this country is, instead of actually progressing and making it better, right? You keep giving people power to the people that want to make America great again. And so from that actual position, if those people, whether willingly or unwillingly, wittingly or unwittingly, decide to not vote, they are giving credence to those people who tend to actually speak and think that they're speaking for everyone, right? I mean, they give people on the right validity and give those people the ability to actually say I'm right because they have political power. And so that's super harmful, because either you're being selfish and saying, oh, my vote doesn't count, or you're being selfish in the sense of saying like, well, if I did vote, nothing would change. Like that. All of those reasons is why I say people that are non-voters and third-party voters are the same. They're the worst.
Here's why I push back a little bit, because one, I do agree that third party voters are like very selfish, because obviously they're voting for something in which way they're not going to be able to win. And they always are like very vindictive, and they only approach like the political system every 4 years. So it's not like they actually have constructive like rhetoric to how we can progress. But when we talk about actual non-voters, we got to understand how our political system is operated. So you understand like how the Southern strategy is intentional to like make people not aware of politics. I don't know, like you say you're down south. Have you ever heard of a congressman named Gary Chambers out in
From where?
Louisiana?
Is it the
Shut up.
it's not the one that I'm thinking of, the one that made the video about the sea head? The
No,
old Southern.
he's been like a he talked about the Southern strategy before, but he's like he's very big proponent on like trying to get more.
What's his name
voting
again? I gotta see his face.
representation.
I'm horrible with names, but I'm great with faces.
Gary Chambers, look him up.
Let's see here. Gary
'Cause now
Chambers.
we're gonna get into like
Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah.
I've seen him before.
So then what he's been actually talking about is actually like a lot of times the Democratic Party puts a lot of big investments in these quote unquote swing states based upon trying to appeal to moderates instead of actually going into like the deep red states in which like conservatives have this what would we call it chokehold in these areas, right? So he's been trying to advocate like, why don't we have our own strategy that combats this other strategy instead of continuously playing this cat and dog or cat and mice game with conservatism. So there's large pots of people that are always being gerrymandered and are always being disenfranchised with their votes. They literally have no interest in our political system because of that. So because that's where my pushback on like non-voters are the worst, because we're kind of like approaching it in this like two-way system without actually trying to look outside the box of the system and actually attacking, because being more on an attack than instead of being on the defense. So that's always been the most of the time Democrats allow conservatives to pick what's the talking point, and we always would then battle against it and try to like say, oh no, that's not true. And instead of us actually have our own message with what we're trying to tell the people to get them engaged in actually our political system.
Yeah, so let me say this real quick. W's in the chat for Dunya. Dunya, thank you so much. Again, thank you for coming up. Thank you for your words of wisdom that you came up and shared, and freaking massive W's in the chat for you for that $50 donation. You are absolutely too kind. Thank you so much, Sam, for all your great work. Listen, you are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for that actual donation. Guys, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, all the pay links are in the link tree in the bio. Santana Speaks 24, best way to support the live. Everything is accepted. Anything is appreciated. What I'll say, right, is pushing back on that even more. Like, so I agree, right? But I think that speaks to the point that the left is lazy, right? The reason why we don't have our own quote unquote Southern strategy, or specifically any type of stance that would be beneficial, that would actually not only target those people that don't vote, but actually being able to do anything that continues to progress the country, is because they're unwilling to actually do the hard work, right? When you talk about implementing a plan, you called it out, right? If we target those, especially those southern countries, right? I was having a great conversation with SJ, and he sent me an actual map, right, which talked about the massive where is it? The massive correlation of Black people in the South, which, you know, I know for a fact that let me show this real quick. I know for a fact, because I am from the South, right? And I know how many Black people are in the South versus being in other states, right? And so if you take a look at this map, right? The purple are where Black people are, right? Throughout the U.S. And so
the population, or 60% of Black people in the South.
Right. And so if the actual if the Democratic Party actually went towards targeting those people, and not only targeting those people, but specifically trying to your point, address those, the ways that the Republican Party has tried to rig the voting system in those areas. Then we can actually look at ways to improve and fight back when it comes to the South. But they're unwilling to actually put in the hard work and do those things. Hey, Jersey Girl, what's not true? Jersey Girl, you said something's not true. Emmanuel, I'm going to invite Jersey Girl up. Jersey Girl says something's not true. Jersey Girl, I would love to hear you explain what's not true.
I agree with you about like the premise of lazy, but I won't even know. I'm not even sure I'll even describe it as the left, because I'm sure you're aware like the Democratic Party is still technically centered right, and that also goes into like your whole.
That's a different conversation.
You know what I'm saying?
I get you. That's a different conversation, though.
So like, I don't be really truly considering them the left. Even all the quote unquote they call Bernie Sanders and AOC quote unquote radical leftists, but they are not even technical leftists, because like Bernie Sanders, all he ended up doing is caping for white people. Bernie literally sounded like the dude that you just had on the panel, like just complete dismissal of racism and just trying to be like, oh, let's just push aside people's actual harms from the system and just say, oh, that's not that, and then just ignore all those issues just to win, and then claim that us winning is not is not good enough when people are actually being harmed by the system. Doesn't make any sense. And AOC isn't progressive. You can say she's like a moderate, like technically, but she actually just confines to whatever Bernie says.
Yeah, like so there I'm going to try to get this video. I need to get it to my backup because I think that it's really worth seeing. But yeah, there's a video from Bernie that actually it was so disappointing to hear. You're absolutely right.
That interview, yeah, that drove me crazy, because that's been my criticism. Because I got like OG aunties and everything, and I've always wondered, like, you know how the Bernie Bros would like to like say that 2016 was rigged, and it's really just an attack on Black women, because the reason he didn't win is because Black women didn't want to vote for him, because he continued to ignore, like, he always would have this class reductionist argument of the system and try to say it's a classism issue, not a racism. And it's like, no, they use racism to fuel classism. You can't remove those two. So then he'll have like I remember that somebody tried to suggest that he should like incorporate like the conversations of reparations and stuff like that, and he just absolutely dismissed it. And like, again, with Black people, when we see how you're just using our plight to just like claim that this is classist issue, we can, like, Black women see that they're not when they can see somebody's fugazi, they're not going for it. And then he always would then say it's rigged, but that's just not true. People just didn't want to vote for you.
Yeah. I think that and again, the reason why I lean into the issue of moderate Democrats being the worst is because of those types of things, right? They actually ride the fence way too close that keep us from being able to progress. And even when someone seems somewhat progressive, then we automatically say, oh, they're the quote unquote far left. They're the progressive ones. They're the ones that's trying to make things better. And that's not the truth, right? They're just not as center right or whatever, or center right, center left. Anyway, they're just not as close as those other people would be. But I think that there's a true need to actually not only understand that, but to make that push towards trying to get more progression, right? I mean, like I've heard people, so the conversation has been had as far as like, Trump running for a third term, and if Trump runs for a third term, then we can put up Barack Obama. Like, that would be just as harmful, right? I mean, like,
I don't even agree with that. I agree. I don't even agree with Obama. And it just feeds into just like this cultish behavior that we just ban over somebody instead of actually like holding people accountable to actually like make meaningful change. I mean, of course, if Obama did somehow come out of like retirement to do it, we'd have had no choice to be supportive. But that all that does is fuel just this fan-like behavior that our politics has became, instead of actually like progress.
Yep. Yep, I completely agree. And I mean, like, you know, the whole point is that if we're willing to continue to accept just enough, then we'll never get the things that we actually want, right? We'll never be able to get to the point where we're doing things that's beneficial. I mean, like, again, there's other countries all around the world that have access to so many other things that we should have access to within the US. And we don't have those things because we keep flip-flopping back and forth. And, you know, again, I love Barack, I love Barry, like, but if we had another term of Barry, like, it would be another situation where we're just being stagnant and staying far away. Is the someone just dropped green hearts in the chat? Anytime I see green hearts, I always think of Jill Stein. Was that green hearts for Jill Stein? Help me understand that. W's in the chat for H. Ruckers, who sent a $2 donation saying, I used to think that being left moderate was problematic because I was less likely to alienate the right. But that was a bad strategy. The right has regressed the US so badly that they are they are anointed as being progressive. You're absolutely right about that. W's in the chat for the $2 donation for H. Ruckers. Also, W's in the chat for Cindy, who sent a $19.99 YouTube super chat saying, I can't believe how many people believe their feelings to be facts. We can have our own opinions and choices, but facts are still facts. Thanks for what you're doing for us. Thank you for all of your knowledge and research. Listen, thank you so much for that donation. Thank you for your kind words. And I absolutely agree. Like, the point that I've made over and over and over is, like, if we can't actually agree on facts, then we have a real problem. Like, we absolutely have to be able to agree on facts. But Emmanuel, listen, I appreciate you coming up. I'm gonna swap you out because there seems to be some other people in the box. You know how much I respect you, and I hear your opinion. I disagree. I still think they're the worst, but I'm not saying that I don't understand your point.
Now, for sure, we can that is a healthy discussion, and
yeah,
and that's a discussion that actually can have constructive, like, results and solutions versus whatever old dude was just crying about.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the whole point. Like, what do we do, right? That's the point. Like, what do we do? What's the actual solution? So, anyway, listen, I appreciate you. I'm gonna drop you down, my brother.
Yes, sir. You have a good day.
You as well. All right, guys, keep tapping the screen. Let's go ahead and get the likes up to 200,000 likes. Can we knock out the daily gift goal? It's the little kissy hearts. Kissy hearts, my favorite. I love the kissy hearts. Guys, only request up if you disagree with something in the background. I see there's multiple people in the chat. I'm going to start pulling these. I'm sorry, multiple people in the request. Only request up if you actually disagree with something on the background. If you do not disagree with something on the background, do not request up. This is not Late Nights with Santana. This is Sparring with Santana, and we are looking for debates. We are only looking for debates. So only request up if you disagree with the background. Hello. With that being said, is it Theron?
Yeah, it's Therian.
Therian, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
Good. Did you vote left, right, or are you a non-voter?
I voted blue. Do not know what left or right means.
Oh, I missed the kissy hearts. So you voted for Kamala Harris?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So what do you disagree with? Do you disagree with moderates are mediocre, or you disagree with the left is lazy?
I agree with the MAGA cult. I disagree with the MAGA cult for life.
No. That's you voted for Kamala. I need to know.
I did, and I hate Make America Great Again, so MAGA cult.
I don't think you understand what that would mean.
You were calling them a cult. Never mind. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense.
That's why that's why the question came up as far as who did you vote for and which point do you disagree based off of your position.
Yeah, okay, never mind. I do believe I agree with you on all of them then. I'm sorry.
In that case, no worries. I'm going to drop you down. I appreciate you.
Goodbye.
Guys, only request up if you disagree with a point on the background, and make sure, listen, just to make sure I explain this, and I'm very clear about this. Mediocre moderates, meaning that people that voted for, consistency, right? People that believe that, oh, we don't need to go too far. right? People who think that the left is too woke, people that think that, oh, there's a system of cancel culture on the left and it's a bad thing, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, get in a box. Get in a box. If you are someone that voted for MAGA and you don't think that you're in a cult, you don't think that your fearless leader has you by the short and curlies, get in a box, because you're in a cult. And I can prove it. If you're someone that's on the left and you vote for the left and you don't think that the left is lazy, politically speaking, get in the box, because that laziness gave us Trump twice. Get in the box. If you're someone that is a Trump supporter and you're on the right and you don't think that you put your feelings over facts, which we know for a fact that you put your feelings over facts, get in the box. Because at no point are you willing to actually accept information and make rational decisions based off of information. You would much rather lean into your safe space than actually accept information. Get in the box. Or if you are the worst of them all, and yes, I'm calling you out, the worst of them all, the absolute worst. If you're someone that's a non-voter, if you're someone that said my vote doesn't count, if you're someone that says, oh, I was just too busy, I didn't have time to vote, I didn't actually get to learn about the candidates, I didn't have an opportunity, or yeah, I could have voted, but my vote wouldn't have counted, it wouldn't have done anything, it wouldn't have changed anything. You're horrible. Get in a box. And to be clear, if you voted for Jill Stein, you might as well have voted for Kanye West. If you voted for Cornel West, you might as well have voted for freaking Pam Bondi. If you voted for anyone, if you voted for RFK Jr., you might as well have voted for Ron DeSantis. Like your vote was irrelevant. Your vote was irrelevant. You're a non-voter. Get in the box. King said, what makes them the worst? The thing that makes non-voters and third-party voters the worst is because they give validation to the extremists and make them believe that just because they hold political power, that they're right and they're just, and even more so, them not voting stands in direct conflict with us being able to actually progress the country in any way, shape, or form. Because if they actually got off their ass and voted, then we would be able to pass universal background checks, common sense pew-pew law reforms. We would be able to legalize certain recreational items across the country, not just in certain states. We would be able to get universal health care. We would be able to improve the Affordable Care Act. We would be able to do things like provide support for our veterans and support for people who are underprivileged, like kids. That Republicans are taking away food from kids' mouths. Kids can't eat. They don't have access to food. And if you're a non-voter, you contributed to that because you didn't think it was important enough for you to get off your ass and vote. That's why you're the worst. Get in the box. Get in the box. Get in the box. Is there anyone that actually wants to disagree with any points in the background, or is everyone willing to actually admit that I'm right? I mean, if everyone there's 453 people hanging out here, and if all 453 people think that I'm right, we can just say it and I can go. Like, we can all listen. We can call it a day. If I can get 453 people to say that I'm right, then I've done my job here. So I'm just going to assume that everyone disagrees. As a matter of fact, let's do a quick poll. Put a 3 in the chat if you don't agree with me. If you think that I'm wrong, with anything that I said, put a 3 in the chat. Layla, you put a 3 in the chat. You think that I'm wrong? Oh, you said never mind. Okay, put a 3 in the chat. Donna, you think that I'm wrong? Donna, cool. I'm sending you a request to come up, Donna. Erica, you can get this smoke too. Get in the box. Anyone that thinks that I'm wrong on anything that I said, get in the box. What's the number for me being right? It doesn't matter. We're good. And Donna, the only person that I saw, you good, you're outside? Yeah, I smoke you anyway. Listen, Eric and I ended up going to this MAGA live last night. It was super interesting, right? Some randos that didn't know who we were, right? And it was a lot of fun. I ended up, dunking on them over and over and over. And then finally, when it got late enough where I knew that I had to get off anyway, I just decided to crash out because why not, right? So I crashed out. And they had started muting me and they were going to actually kick me. And I was like, F you, I've been kicked out of better places, and I left, right? So Erica was still there. And then Erica, battled with them. And then she left as well. And then after we left, right, they had this whole victory lap. They was like, oh, we cooked them. Yeah, we cooked those big leftists. We've never had this many people watching this live. And I sat there and told them, I was like, listen, as soon as you drop us, your numbers are going to drop. People are going to leave. They're not here to see you, bud. And Donna, how do I come up? I've already sent you a request to come up. I'll send you another one. There you go. I sent you an invite. All you got to do is accept it. And so after Erica and I were gone, they were taking their victory laps, talking about how they cooked, right? And then they said, oh yeah, we had 2 big bosses in there. Well, a big boss and an underling. And they said Erica was the big boss and I was the underling. I've never in my life, they called Erica the big boss and they said I was the underling. Because Erica got 25,000 followers and I got 8. I said, that's what's up. That's what's up. So make sure you're following this alternate account because apparently I'm an underling and I need more followers. So if you're looking at this and you think that you follow me, you're probably, you might have been following the main account, which is currently in purgatory. We're hoping to get it back at some point. But until then, this is the account that we're going to be working off of. So MAGA doesn't call me an underling anymore. Can we get these followers up? Check and make sure that you're actually following me. If you think that you're following me, just double check. Make sure you're following me. If you are following me on this account, then at least make sure you're following me on the backup account. This is my backup account. Make sure you follow the backup account as well. So being called an underling, I've never been so insulted in my life. What do we got? We don't have any, no one else. Okay, cool. All right. Well, I mean, if you guys feel like I'm right, then I'll just take it. You know? I'm not gonna argue with the chat. All right, I'm not gonna do it. If you guys think that I am, just the, bestest and I'm completely right, then I'll take it. I'll absolutely take it. But with that being said, right, I guess if we don't have any more debates, I think we're going to call it, right? We're going to skedaddle. Tomorrow is Memorial Day, right? And I might see, depending on my mods. W's in the chat for all my mods, best mods in the building, best mods in all of TikTok. Depending on what my mods have going on, and depending on what the important people in my life says. Donna's not trying to quest up. I've sent Donna. Oh, there's Donna.
Hello.
Donna, you disagree with the background?
I disagree for myself, but not completely, if that makes sense.
Let's see if we can make it make sense. Donna, did you vote left, right, or non-voter?
I did not vote.
Ooh, okay. Now let's hit this caveat, because we clearly defined earlier that there is a caveat that I'm willing to accept. Donna, can you actually vote?
Oh, yes, I can vote.
Okay, so you can vote, but you didn't vote. Cool. Donna, tell me why you're not the worst.
I didn't vote because I was very ignorant. I knew nothing about politics, and I actually have you and other people like Dean and Parker to thank for becoming a bit more informed, because up until last November's election, I knew nothing about politics. I would ask questions, and in where I live, I couldn't get answers to make an informed decision. And I didn't want to make the wrong decision for me. If I would have fully understood, I would have voted Kamala. I'm sorry, Kamala.
You're good.
But I still didn't know enough to make an informed decision.
Yeah. So I have a couple of questions for you. Real quick, hold on a second. The answer to your question is 3:50. It's 3:50. 3:50 p.m. That's the answer to your question. 3:50 p.m. All right. I'm sorry, Donna. So you said that you didn't have enough information prior to the election, and you attribute the information that you have now to people in the social media sphere that have helped to actually get said information to you, because you had questions for people in your area. They couldn't answer those questions. Couple of quick things for you, Donna. What area do you live in? You can just say your state. You don't have to say like specific city or anything.
Sure, I live in Tennessee.
Okay, perfect. And Donna, your actual what's the approximately how old are you? You don't have to say your specific age, but around what age are you?
I'm in my early 60s.
Okay, perfect. So you live in Tennessee, you're in your early 60s, and you didn't vote because you felt like you were ignorant of politics and things like that, and you didn't feel like you could make an informed decision. Right?
Correct.
Okay. Don, a couple of quick questions for you. Have you ever voted?
No, I have not.
Okay, so you've never voted. Why have you never voted?
My only answer to that would be is I consider myself intelligent. I did as much research as I knew how to do. There was no one around me that I knew on a personal level that I could ask questions. And my personality is I don't like to bother other people. So I simply didn't ask strangers. And the level of research I didn't give me enough information, like I said, to make an informed decision, for it to make sense to me so I could vote.
Okay.
When I started doing serious research and listening to podcasts and trying to educate myself, it actually was at the end of last October. I just started learning, sad to say, but then I couldn't even register to vote.
Okay, I get it. So let me take a step back. Donna, what were, if you can think back to that time, what were some of those questions that you had that you couldn't get answers for?
Well, this is going to probably show my ignorance, but that's okay. I need to learn. I didn't understand how the voting process actually worked because to me, I thought, okay, I will go and I will vote, but then my vote is counted maybe that same day, but my understanding is no, because you have an electoral college and then they're voting the same day. And it didn't make sense that my vote would get to anybody for them to understand what I wanted, if that makes sense.
So basically what you're saying is since there's a level of disconnect when it comes to casting your vote to directly being able to impact who is president, that you didn't necessarily think that it was important enough?
Not that it wasn't important enough. I didn't understand, and I still don't. If I'm voting November 5th and the Electoral College is voting that same day, how is my vote getting to them?
Got it. Okay. Okay. So just to let you know, the Electoral College doesn't vote the same day. All right. Receiving those electoral votes are based off of the determination of the area that those electoral, electorals, anyway, the people that hold those votes, based off of the determination of those areas, right? And so the one thing that we do know about our political system is that the voting process happens over a span of days and even weeks, right? With early voting, on the day of voting, and then even ballots that come in from like overseas from our military. Those actual votes come in as far as a span, right? And all of that takes time. And when it comes to casting the vote, it's all projected, right? And so I can't remember what the specific date is, but the date isn't until later where those electors submit their vote to give those official votes to the candidate, but it's not certified until January the 6th, J6. So that's how that actual process works. And it's a timely process. But the main thing is that your vote is tallied and then it's submitted, and it goes from that point.
Well, I appreciate the explanation because, like I said, in my ignorance, I didn't understand the process. And I'm glad that you're not judging me like your followers are.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, let me say this. Don't worry about the chat. The chat is wicked. Listen, they call me bald all the time. I actually have clear hair. So they can be mean. So I find value in this conversation for multiple reasons, and I'll tell you why at the end, but I want to keep going. Donna, what other questions did you have that you couldn't find the answer for?
Well, when Vice President Harris declared that she was running, I wanted to try to get more information. And it wasn't that the information wasn't out there, but it can be overwhelming. Like right now, trying to find out who to actually listen to and what are reliable sources, which is why I say I appreciate you because I didn't know you existed until last October. And you spent so much time trying to educate people that I was cheering you on in the background, trying to educate myself. And I just wanted to say thank you.
Yeah, no. So I appreciate that. So have you ever heard of flood the zone? You know what that term is?
I've never heard of it, but I can imagine what it means.
Yeah. So it's a strategy specifically used on the right where they put out so many stories, so many things. They just continue to pump out the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, where people are unable to actually gauge, one, what's real, and also two, what's important, right? So when it comes to there being so much information, I mean, yes, we do live in a world where there is a ton of information at our fingertips. Like, we have supercomputers in our hands. And I do think there is, it can be overwhelming. So I understand your position. But then I think there's also different degrees of discernment that you have to use in order to cut through a lot of those things. And so this is what I want to do, Donna. Question for you. Before the election, tell me one or two things that you actually knew about Kamala Harris before the election, or you think you knew.
Oh, honestly, the only thing I knew that she was our vice president.
Okay.
I didn't know about her background. I didn't know what she believed in, if it was, 100% the same as President Biden, or if it was she had her own course. I knew nothing.
Got it. Okay. Okay. What about Donald Trump? What did you know? A couple of things that you knew about Donald Trump prior to the election.
Well, unfortunately, I consider myself a lady, so I can't say a whole lot about him.
Well, no, just kind of give me. So, did you know that he was someone that essayed a person and was held civilly liable for it?
I had heard about that. I know that the man lies.
Okay.
I know he bankrupt a lot of his companies.
Okay.
I knew a lot of information about him.
Okay.
I
So,
would never have voted for him. I just didn't know enough about anybody else of who I would have voted for.
got it. Got it. So, this is the point that I was trying to make as far as like discernment, right? When you talk about the things that you do know about Donald Trump versus the things that you don't necessarily, or you didn't know about Kamala Harris, right? For me, if I know for a fact that there is someone who is running for an office and they have actively been harmful and engaged in things that I deem to be not only negative, right? Because we're not talking about someone supporting, a bill that I disagree with or whatever, but someone that is actually, if I know stories about someone forcefully penetrating another person against their will, then that's enough for me to say I can't support this person for anything. And so that's where you use discernment, right? I mean, understanding that yes, there are two main candidates, and one you may not know a lot about, and it may be a little bit more difficult to find out information, but you know for a fact that this other person has bankrupt multiple businesses, including casinos. You know this other person has been held civilly liable for rape. You know that this person has lied over and over and over. Donna, why wouldn't you use your discernment and say, well, I might not know a ton about our current vice. Well, I might not know a ton about our current vice. Well, I might not know a ton about our current vice. Well, I might not know a ton about our current vice. Well, I might not know a ton about our current vice.
And I didn't do the research enough to try to figure things out on my own before.
Mm-hmm. So, Donna, what do you know about third-party candidates?
Less than I know about the government in general.
Okay, that's fair. So Donna, this is the thing about third-party candidates, right? I'm not saying that there's no third-party candidate that doesn't have like good ideas or great concepts or anything like that. But what I am saying is there's no third-party candidate that has put in the actual work to build not only themselves up, but their party up to being a viable option, right? And so even if you had a person like Jill Stein somehow win the presidency, the Green Party had no actual people in positions to run for the House, the Senate, for state and local government. Like they didn't have any type of infrastructure to actually be able to govern. So when putting a president in office, yes, presidents are important, but having the support of their having support of their party is even more important to be able to pass or govern or do anything. So if we would have elected someone from a third party that doesn't have any type of power within the rest of the government, then they wouldn't be able to get anything done. So until a third party candidate is willing to actually build their party up from ground up, they'll never be a viable candidate.
And that makes perfect sense. I just didn't know that until you telling me just now.
Okay. I mean,
my focus has been on surviving.
Yeah. And you know what? That's not a bad thing, Donna. Donna, the thing that I think that that the left has a problem with is actually expressing to people that they care about people like you who want to survive, right, Donna? So they have a hard time telling them like, hey, we're doing the good things for you and we're trying to actually do these things for you, and look what we actually did. I always say this, Donna. I say, hey, when I talk to anyone that says like I'm conservative, I say, tell me something that the Republican Party has done within the last 60 years. 60, Donna, so almost your entire life. Name one thing that the Republican Party has that they've done trying to help you survive. And don't get it wrong, I'm not saying that they're great, because they're not. The Democratic Party has a ton of flaws. They're not good in any way, shape, or form. But as far as the two-party system as is currently constructed, they're the better option than the right. Because at the very least, they're trying to actually do something that benefits everyday Americans. Now, with that being said, I still hold the Democratic Party accountable, because there is no reason why the Affordable Care Act shouldn't be better today than when it was instituted under Barack Obama. The left has not actually did anything to try to actually boost and build up those things that would be achievements and to make things better.
And I see that. And I wish that you could be having that conversation with my son, because he is hardcore MAGA.
Where is he at?
Like, where is he now?
Yeah, like can you get him on the live?
Oh gosh, no. No, he's a travel nurse and he's probably sleeping right now because he works nights. But he was so thrilled when Trump got elected, and we've had serious conversations, because while I'm ignorant about a lot of political things, I'm not stupid.
No, I definitely don't think you are.
I have common sense, and when he makes comments, I would come back. Well, that doesn't make sense. So
Mhm.
explain it to me, and I'll, as you like to say, don't get in your fuzzy feels.
Mm-hmm.
And he's all about, oh, but Trump is going to make America great again. Well,
Yeah. Hold on
he
one
is.
second, Donna. Hold on one second. Hey, chat. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I've been up here having a genuine conversation with Donna. And my request for the chat is to be respectful. If you can't be respectful, you can leave. If you can't be respectful, you can leave. So this is the last warning that I'm giving the chat. I'm up here having a genuine conversation with Donna. And if you don't want to actually engage, listen, or give actual comments, feedback that would be beneficial in this situation, then you can leave. You can stop chatting, or I can have my mods mute you. Mods, if people are going to continue to be disrespectful in the chat, we can mute them for the live. Because there's a difference in the conversation that I'm having right now with Donna than the conversation that I had with Patrick earlier. And if you can't see that, then that's a problem. So this is the last time I'm going to say it. Please be respectful or leave. I'll love you all the same, but we're not doing that right now. I apologize, Donna.
I appreciate it. It was one of the reasons why I almost didn't come up.
Yeah, no, listen, first and foremost, like coming up is hard, right? Coming up in front of, hundreds or thousands or whatever, like it's hard. It's absolutely hard. And even more so, actually admitting that you did or didn't do something is even harder. So I appreciate you coming up. I appreciate you coming up and having this genuine conversation, because like if I didn't think you were genuine, then you would have got the whole Santana production, right? You would have gotten the pomp and circumstance. You would have gotten like all the pushback, and you would have got the music and all this other stuff. You're not getting that because I think you're genuine, right? And so that's why I want to continue that, because like this is hard. What you're doing right now is hard. Now, with that being said, Donna, I really do have to know, like, there's a lot that can be said about what you didn't do, right? And this is the conversation I've been having with multiple people, and even people that are disingenuous. I've had this conversation with them as well. And you kind of started talking about it, Donna, but what do you do next? Like what now, right? You've openly admitted that you didn't vote. You regret the fact that you didn't vote. You educated yourself too late. What do you do next?
What to me I do next is continue to educate and now figure out how to register to vote. To
vote.gov.
See, I didn't even know that existed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm writing that down.
Yeah.
Because right now I'm fighting to get one of those real ID licenses.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm fighting so much bureaucracy.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me wonder, when I go to try to register to vote, are they going to ask me for things that I cannot supply because they won't accept it?
Yeah, so I'm on vote.gov right now, and I looked up Tennessee, register to vote in Tennessee. How do you register and update your registration? Start your registration. You can actually register online, right? You can register online as long as you're doing that before 30 days of the next election. Register by mail is there's a different deadline, but you can also register in person. But if you go to vote.gov, you actually select your state, Tennessee. It gives you how you actually vote, and then not only that, it gives you like your local elections and things that are coming up. Because this one thing that I will encourage you is yes, you're talking about the presidential election, which is the presidential election is super important. But what's even more important is voting down ballot, right? Understanding that the state and local politics have more impact on your everyday life than the actual president. And so I'm looking here, and there's multiple. Let's see here in Tennessee. There's some actual elections that are coming up, and you can actually get involved in those elections. There's state and the local elections coming up in Tennessee, but you want to go ahead and register to vote, and then you can actually look to target those actual places. So vote.gov, select Tennessee, and it'll take you through the prompt to actually be able to register yourself to vote.
And I can do that as long as they don't ask me for my birth certificate, because my city won't accept my original birth certificate as valid, which is what my battle is right now.
So I guess with that being said, let's see here.
And I know that's not your problem.
No, you're fine. We're talking. In order to actually register to vote, you have to have, let's see, you submit the application, and do you have a current Tennessee driver's license?
I have a current one, but not
The real ID?
Yes, which is stopping me for everything I need to do right now.
Yeah, no, you're fine. So the requirements are you have to be a U.S. citizen, you must be a resident of Tennessee, and you must be 18 years or older and not convicted of a felony on or after May the 18th. Are you a felon on or after May the 18th?
No.
Okay, perfect.
But
So
what do I have to prove to be a U.S. citizen? Because that's my problem right now.
well, let's run through this real quick. Hold on a second. Are you a U.S. citizen? Yes. Are you a resident of Tennessee? Yes. Will you be 18 by election day? Yes.
Yes.
Have you ever been convicted of a felony? No. Do you understand registration? Voter registration is public record? Yes. Do you understand that giving false information to register is a fine and a felony? Social security number and also your Tennessee driver's license number. So as long as you have those two things, you can definitely register to vote online.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm not near my computer, but I've written it down so I'll know the address to go to.
Yeah, absolutely. So Donna, I had a question, and again, the question was, what do you do next? And I please don't take this the wrong way. But when I tell you that continue to educate yourself and registering to vote, that's not enough. So Donna, I need you to really think about this, and you don't have to give me this answer now, but I genuinely hope that you come back at some point and you and I can talk again, because you have to do more. Right? Just saying that I'm going to do this and I'm going to take care of myself, and it's not enough. Not what we're facing today, right? I mean, this administration is stripping away the rights of so many people. This administration is being harmful and people affecting people like you, Donna, right? I mean, like this bill that they're trying to pass is going to actually raise the age for people to be able to access Medicaid to 69. Right? I mean, like it's I'm not Medicaid, Social Security, I think. Anyway, like it's negatively impacting everyday Americans for multiple reasons. And so, and not only do those people that voted for Kamala Harris and voted for the Democratic Party, not only do we have a responsibility to shore up the left and to be better and to be more unified as far as moving forward, but we have a responsibility to reach out and engage with people like Donna, and which I think there's a ton of value. But Donna, it's your responsibility to sit here and say, I didn't vote. And since I didn't vote, this next election, 2026, I'm going to make sure that I'm ready to vote. I'm going to make sure that, you know, my friend Carol is ready to vote. I'm going to make sure that my friend Tom is ready to vote. I'm going to make sure everyone that I can actually get a hold of is ready to vote. I think that's important. Also, W's in the chat for E. W's in the chat for E. Erica sent me information. So quick question, Donna, what's the issue with your original birth certificate?
The only birth certificate I have is the one that my mother gave me.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to try to get the real ID, the person at DMV says it's not a real birth certificate, like I just imagined it.
Okay.
And so I had to go back. I was born in Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to go there to the vital check, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I had to apply. Well, I'm now waiting, and they're saying I'm not going to get a certified copy of my birth certificate until August 5th.
Okay.
So I'm just waiting. I can't do anything.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. And Erica actually sent me that information, the same thing that you said, vital check. You can actually go put in the information. You can get that copy. So yeah, as far as getting your real ID, it's going to hold you up, right? That you're absolutely right. But getting that I'm happy that you've already initiated that process and you're moving down the actual path to get that, but that won't stop you from registering to vote. So you can still register to vote. And I'm happy to hear that you've already taken the steps to get your birth certificate. That's important. So you're on the right track, Donna. You're on the right track.
I appreciate it. Now, if I could just convince my son of his foolishness.
Yeah, tell your son to come see Santana. And just FYI, I'm not going to be as nice to your son as I am to you because, I mean, they're, you know, different strokes for different folks. And yeah, he's going to have to, you know, get these hands because he willingly voted for Donald Trump. But no, seriously, like I think there's value in these conversations and even more so, Donna, I think that this is the last thing I'll say. I want you to understand that you now have a responsibility, Donna, because at this point you can no longer claim ignorance and say I didn't know or I didn't have information. Because not only, you know, did you learn afterwards and you've learned in multiple ways, but you've now been pushed in the direction where you can actually go and grow and gain, and you have to focus on those things and you have to focus on your responsibility. So Donna, I'm going to actually be counting on you to do more. And when I say do more, just an FYI, you can phone bank, you can canvas, you can, you know, you can help run fundraisers. You can do so much. If you can't get out and about, there's options to do stuff from your home. If you can get out and about, there's options to do stuff in the community. There's so much that you can. And Donna, you are now responsible to do those things.
I do understand what you're saying. I have to find out what's available to me locally.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, W's in the chat for Carolina. Thank you so much for sending Donna that galaxy. Hey, she just sent you a galaxy, Donna. And she sent me one as well. Thank you so much for the galaxy. You're amazing.
Thank you very much. I had a great fear of your response to my coming up.
Yeah. Listen, Donna, I would never I'll never be someone that ever actually fault someone for trying to do the right thing. And again, I don't know how long you've been here listening, but I told the guy Patrick earlier, it's not about the mistakes that we make in life, because all of us make mistakes. No one's perfect. Everyone F's up. But it's about how we actually respond to those things that we do, right? And so being able to stand up and say, I was wrong, I'm willing to say that I'm wrong, and I'm willing to say that I need to be better. That's half the battle, Donna. And for you to get in the box in front of hundreds of people, and let's not kid ourselves, they weren't all kind at the start of the conversation. That took a lot of courage. And so I appreciate you for coming up here and having this conversation with me, and being genuine and being open and being, as a matter of fact, I'm sorry, I meant to read this off earlier. I got lost in where I was, but W's in the chat for Allison. Allison sent a $2 donation saying, W Donna for vulnerability. You're absolutely right. Allison, thank you so much for that $2 donation. You are far too kind, but you absolutely nailed it. Donna, you were willing to be vulnerable and willing to learn and willing to seek an opportunity to be better. And I think we as we as people have to continue to seek an opportunity to be better. And you doing that was so important. W's in the chat. Oh, no, sorry, that's the wrong thing. But yeah, like Donna, you're not alone, right? I hope you continue to watch my lives. I hope you continue to she can also do the the compass.org. That'll help guide your actual, you know what's funny, take down that have your son do a political compass test, right? Have him go. I like the Pew Research, say, hey, take this, the political compass test. And then after he takes the test, let's see if he's still MAGA, right? That's one thing that you can actually do, because I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand their political stance. They speak from a point, and that's why I have feelings over facts. They speak from a point of feelings, but if they actually engage in those things and do a deep dive into who they are and what they really believe in, then they end up finding out they're like, hey, that's not who I am, right?
I actually took that test.
Did you?
Myself.
What'd you get?
I am left, but I'm almost center left.
Ooh, you're one of those mediocre moderates, Donna.
I have been told all my life that I'm liberal, and for a political viewpoint, I never knew what that meant. For you to tell me I'm a moderate, I don't know what that means.
Yeah. Hold on one second. Jordan, there's plenty of them out there. It's, if you just go to Google and look up political compass tests, you can find a few of them. I like the one for the Pew Research, but there's some that have like way more information, way more in-depth categories and all this other stuff. But to what Donna's saying, right? Like once you take that test, it'll give you more information about what those things actually mean. I think a lot of people misunderstand. I held a panel like a week or so ago, and I specifically posed the question like, are you a Democrat? Are you a progressive? Are you a socialist? Or are you a communist? Right? And there's more categories than that under the left, but I tried to keep it simple. And a lot of people were coming up and saying, oh, I'm a Democrat. And then they took the political compass test and it was like, oh, I'm a socialist. I'm almost a communist, because they don't understand like the different nuances. And so not only taking that test would help, but you can get more information about it. And it really helps you learn where you are on the political spectrum, because I think there's a huge difference between the left and the right as far as the people that are under the umbrella on the left versus the people that are under the umbrella on the right. So I think there's a lot to be learned by digging into that.
Well, thank you. I taught martial arts school for 21 years, and we talked about integrity a lot. And I'm not afraid to say when I've made a mistake. And I try to learn from it. So I appreciate your chat with me today, because like I said, you weren't vicious. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, thank you for that, Donna. Thank you for coming up. Thank you for having the courage. And thank you for even saying that. Again, so anyone that listens to me knows how much I credit my wonderful wife for a lot of the things. But I'll say this, over the last few weeks, she has pushed me in my thought process as far as like, what am I doing? Right? What am I doing? How am I responding to people? And she says all the time, arguing with Trump supporters online is not beneficial. It's not doing anything to help people, right? That's her point. It's not doing anything to help people. What are you going to do to actually help people? How do you switch this up? How do you change it? And that's why, you know, that's one reason why I attribute the change to the background and not just saying, oh, I'm focused on MAGA, but looking at all the other people. But then also that's why I took this approach with you, because I think there's value in reaching those people that didn't vote and actually being able to bring them in and address those reasons. So thank you for actually seeing that. I really am trying. Sometimes I slip back into the mode of just arguing, but I'm really happy that you and I were able to actually have this conversation, Donna.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Well, I'm going to drop you down. I appreciate you so much. And hey, again, I'm going to be waiting for you to come back because I need to know what's your action. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Donna.
All right. Bye.
All right, guys. Listen. I was literally getting ready to end. Yep, that's a good one. I was literally getting ready to end like right before Donna came up. But I'm really happy that we got the opportunity to speak with her. Guys, it's funny, right? Because think about it. If I would have just moved a half a second earlier, then I would have ended the live and Donna and I would never had an opportunity to speak. All right. I would have ended the live. She would have never gotten the opportunity to share her voice, to ask her questions, to actually, you know, engage in this back and forth. And it could have been a whole different turn. So I appreciate Donna for coming up, but I also appreciate everyone for hanging out and sticking around. And even more than that, I'll just leave everyone with these last couple of words of wisdom, which is never miss the opportunity to just do something good. Never miss an opportunity to be a good person, like genuinely. It's not that hard. I mean, you don't have to, you know, build someone a house or whatever, but like hold a door for somebody. Give someone a random compliment. If you are, you know, in line ordering food, if you can afford it, pay for the person food behind you. Just don't miss an opportunity to do something nice, because I promise you it goes a long way. And if we did more nice things for each other and for strangers, then I promise you not only would this country be a better place, but this world would be a better place. So just find the time to do something nice for people. That's it. Anywho, so I do have to get out of here because I know yesterday I said that my wife and I were going to see Sinners, but we did not get to see it yesterday because of the actual time of the movie. And so it is 2:37 p.m. on the West Coast, and our movie starts at 3:50 p.m. I'm so excited about it. So I got to get off. I got to, you know, take a shower because can't go anywhere being smelly, right? So I'm going to get ready. We're going to go see Sinners. I'm really excited. It's at one of my favorite movie theaters. One of the reasons why I really enjoy this movie theater is because it serves adult beverages and it has really good food. So I'm going to go have some adult beverages. I'm going to go have some really good food. I'm going to enjoy my beautiful wife. We're going to watch Sinners. Maybe when I come back, you know, I wonder if I buy her, you know, a couple of drinks that I wonder if I can get lucky tonight. Okay, I'm sorry. She hates when I do that. I love her so much. She's so amazing. No, guys, we're gonna get out of here. We're gonna enjoy our night. I really I'm looking forward to our date night because we haven't had one in a while. I just got back from the East Coast, so it's gonna be fun. Anyway, guys, thank you guys for being here. One last shout out. If you are not following this account, make sure you're following this account. This is the alternate account. And if you're not following this account, make sure that you are following this account. I know you're seeing this and you think, oh, I follow Santana. More than likely, you may not be because this is not the main account. So please check and click to make sure that you are following this account specifically. Take a look, make sure you're following this. If you see the word follow at the top instead of the option for a heart, you're not following me. If you see the word follow at the top instead of the option for a heart, you are not following me. Make sure that you actually hit that follow button. I love you all so much. Let's hit that outro, right? Let's get out of here.
Twice emotional stability, a sound body and tranquility. I deserve it all.
Guys, thank you all so much for being here. This was a really good day. I really enjoyed all of it, right? I enjoyed the conversations. Not with Patrick, that guy sucked, right? I mean, like, he was not good, but everyone else, yeah, I mean, being able to end the conversation with Donna, that was huge. That was really, really beneficial. And so I'm excited that we got an opportunity to do that. With that being said, guys, thank you for all the taps, the likes, the shares, the gifts, the donation. Thank you all for just being here and even wanting to listen to my voice. I appreciate you all so much. Remember what I said. Find some time to do something nice for somebody. Small, big, doesn't matter. Just do something nice. I love you all. And as always,